The bucket hit the floor with a hollow thud, and the water came after. Not clean water. Not by accident. Dirty mop water, gray with soap scum and kitchen filth, splashing across his mother's silver hair and soaking into his daughter's pink cotton dress. Andrew Winters stood frozen in the doorway of his own home, his leather briefcase still in his hand, watching his fiancée dump the last drops onto the two people he loved most in this world. His mother tried to shield Ruby, but the child was already drenched, her small body shaking. Catherine didn't see him yet. She was still talking, her voice sharp as broken glass. Maybe now you'll learn to stay out of my kitchen. He'd built a fortune on knowing when to act and when to wait. But in that second, watching dirty water drip from his daughter's chin, Andrew Winters forgot every calculated move he'd ever made. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video and comment where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. And trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's go back 2 hours before, where it all started. Andrew Winters hated Seattle in October. The rain never stopped, just shifted between drizzle and downpour, and the conference hotel smelled like wet carpet and reheated coffee. He'd spent 3 days locked in windowless rooms with venture capitalists who talked too much and listened too little, pitching his software company's new AI platform to people who wanted results yesterday and returns tomorrow. Tuesday afternoon, he sat in the back of a presentation on market penetration strategies, his phone face down on the table. The speaker droned on about quarterly projections. Andrew's mind was already in Los Angeles, where the sun would be setting over the Pacific and Ruby would be finishing her homework at the kitchen table. His daughter, 7 years old, gap-toothed smile, obsessed with dinosaurs and refusing to wear anything but dresses in bright colors. His phone buzzed. Text from Helen, his mother. Ruby got an A on her spelling test. She wants to tell you herself, but it's past bedtime. Call tomorrow. Andrew typed back. Tell her I'm proud. Home Thursday night. But Thursday felt too far away. He'd been gone since Saturday. 4 business trips in 6 weeks. Ruby had stopped asking when he'd be home and started asking if he'd be home. The shift in her question had hit him harder than he wanted to admit. The speaker clicked to another slide. Andrew made a decision. He texted his assistant. Book me on the next flight to LAX. I'm done here. 40 minutes later, he was in a cab heading to Seattle-Tacoma Airport. His presentation materials still in the hotel room. The other executives could handle the final day. His company wouldn't collapse because he missed a networking breakfast. The flight landed at 10:30 Tuesday night. He didn't call ahead. Catherine knew he wasn't due back until Thursday evening. He wanted to surprise her, maybe take her to that Italian place in Beverly Hills she'd been mentioning. They could talk about the wedding plans she'd been emailing him about while he was gone. Seating charts. Flower arrangements. Decisions that felt important to her and abstract to him. The Uber dropped him at the house just before midnight. The property sat in the hills above Sunset Boulevard, white stone and wide windows, the kind of place that showed up in architecture magazines. He'd bought it 3 years ago, after the company's second funding round. Catherine had moved in 6 months ago, right after he proposed. Her car sat in the driveway. A silver sedan, new, the one he'd given her for her birthday in August. The house lights were off except for the one in the master bedroom upstairs. She was probably reading, waiting up for him without knowing he was coming. Andrew let himself in through the front door, set his briefcase down in the entryway, and stopped. Something felt wrong. Not dangerous wrong. Just off. The living room looked different. The furniture had been rearranged. The couch faced the opposite wall now. The bookshelf he'd inherited from his father had been moved from beside the fireplace to the corner. Small changes, but they added up to a room he didn't quite recognize. He walked through to the kitchen. More changes. New curtains on the windows, pale blue instead of the cream ones that had been there. The ceramic bowl Ruby had made in art class, the lumpy green one with Dad painted in wobbly letters, was gone from the counter. Andrew opened the cabinet where he usually kept coffee mugs. They'd been reorganized. Everything in neat rows, handles facing the same direction, arranged by size. He closed the cabinet and stood in the dark kitchen, feeling like a guest in his own house. Upstairs, he heard water running. Catherine was still awake. He decided not to go up yet. Let her finish whatever she was doing. He'd check on Ruby first. His daughter's room was on the first floor, down the hall past his home office. The door was cracked open, and he could see her nightlight glowing soft pink against the wall. He pushed the door wider and stepped inside. Ruby was asleep on top of her covers, still wearing her school clothes. Denim overalls and a red shirt with a T-Rex on it. One shoe on, one shoe off. Her brown hair fanned across the pillow, tangled and unbrushed. Andrew frowned. Catherine usually helped Ruby get ready for bed when he was traveling. That was the arrangement. He worked late, traveled often, and Catherine managed the household. She'd been good at it, or so he'd thought. Organized. Efficient. The kind of person who made lists and checked them twice. He pulled Ruby's remaining shoe off gently, trying not to wake her. She stirred but didn't open her eyes. He found her pajamas folded on the chair by the window and debated waking her to change. Decided against it. Let her sleep. He covered her with a blanket, kissed her forehead and whispered, "Love you, little dinosaur." Ruby mumbled something that might have been, "Love you too," or might have been nothing at all. Andrew left her door cracked and walked further down the hall to the guest room where his mother stayed. Helen had moved in 8 months ago, after she'd fallen and broken her hip. The recovery had been slow. She still used a cane, still struggled with stairs. Andrew had insisted she stay with them instead of going back to her apartment in Pasadena. She'd resisted at first, proud and stubborn, but eventually agreed. Temporary, she'd said. Just until I'm steady again. Her door was closed. He knocked softly. No answer. He opened it an inch and peered inside. The room was dark, but he could make out Helen's shape in the bed, her breathing steady and deep. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, her hair gone completely silver in the 2 years since his father died. She looked fragile in sleep, though she'd snap at him if he ever said so. Andrew closed the door and headed back toward the stairs. That's when he heard the voices. Not from upstairs where Catherine's bedroom lights still glowed. From the back of the house. The kitchen. He stopped walking and listened. Catherine's voice sharp and cold. "I don't care what he told you. This is my house now and you'll follow my rules." A softer voice. Helen's. Shaking. "I was just trying to help. Ruby spilled her juice and I thought." "You thought wrong." Catherine's words came fast and hard. "I spent 2 hours cleaning this floor this afternoon. 2 hours on my hands and knees, and you let that child make a mess 10 minutes after I finish. She's 7 years old. Children spill things. Not in my kitchen they don't." Andrew's chest tightened. He moved down the hallway toward the voices, his footsteps silent on the hardwood floor. Helen again, quieter now. "Please don't wake Ruby. She's already upset. She heard us arguing earlier and then maybe she'll learn to be more careful. Maybe you both will." Andrew reached the kitchen doorway and stopped. The scene hit him all at once. Helen standing by the sink in her nightgown and robe. Her cane gripped in one hand. Ruby beside her, awake now, wearing those same overalls and red shirt, her eyes wide and wet. And Catherine. Catherine in yoga pants and a white tank top, her blonde hair pulled back tight, her face flushed with anger. She held a yellow mop bucket in both hands. The kind with dirty water sloshing inside. The kind you dump in the toilet or down the drain. Not on people. But that's what she was doing. Andrew watched his fiancée lift the bucket and tip it forward, and the water came rushing out in a gray wave, splashing across Helen's silver hair and soaking into Ruby's clothes. His mother gasped and tried to shield his daughter, but it was too late. They were both drenched, both shaking, both staring at Catherine like she'd lost her mind. Maybe she had. The bucket clattered to the floor. Catherine stood there breathing hard. Water dripping from her fingers. "Maybe now," she said, her voice like ice, "you'll learn to stay out of my kitchen." Andrew couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what he'd just seen. Ruby looked down at her soaked shirt, at the dirty water dripping onto the floor, and started to cry. Not loud. Quiet. The kind of crying that breaks a father's heart. Helen pulled Ruby close, her own hands trembling, and whispered, "It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay." But it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. Andrew stood in the doorway of his own home, watching the woman he'd planned to marry, the woman he'd trusted with his family, and felt something inside him go cold and hard and final. Catherine still hadn't seen him. She was grabbing paper towels, wiping her hands, muttering about having to clean up again. Andrew dropped his briefcase. The sound echoed through the kitchen like a gunshot. Catherine spun around, and the color drained from her face. "Andrew," she breathed. "You're home early." Andrew picked up his briefcase from where it had fallen. The leather handle felt solid in his grip. Real. Everything else in the room felt like he'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. Catherine's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. She stood there with paper towels clutched in her fist, her face going from white to red. Ruby pulled away from Helen and ran to him. Her overalls were soaked through, cold and heavy against his legs when she crashed into him. He dropped the briefcase again and scooped her up, not caring that the dirty water was now soaking into his shirt and jacket. "Daddy," she sobbed into his neck. "Daddy, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to spill. I was trying to pour my own juice and the cup slipped and—" "Shoo." He held her tighter. "You didn't do anything wrong." Over Ruby's shoulder, he looked at his mother. Helen stood by the sink, water dripping from her hair onto her robe. Her face had gone pale. She gripped her cane with both hands now, knuckles white, and he saw something in her expression he'd never seen before. Fear. His mother was afraid. In his house. In the home where he'd promised she'd be safe. Catherine found her voice. "Andrew, I can explain. This isn't what it looks like." He set Ruby down gently, kept one hand on her shoulder. "What does it look like, Catherine?" They made a mess. A huge mess. Ruby spilled an entire pitcher of juice all over the floor I just cleaned, and your mother didn't even try to stop her, and when I asked them to help clean it up they just— "So you threw dirty water on them." The words came out flat. No question in them. Just statement of fact. Catherine's hands twisted the paper towels. "I lost my temper. I've been cleaning all day trying to get this house ready for when you came home Thursday, and I'm exhausted, and they just don't listen. I've tried to be patient, but your mother undermines everything I say and Ruby runs wild and I can't stop talking." Catherine's mouth snapped shut. Andrew looked at Helen. "Mom, take Ruby upstairs. Get her in a warm bath. Find her clean clothes." Helen nodded. She held out her hand to Ruby. "Come on, sweetheart." Ruby didn't move. She stared up at Andrew with those wide brown eyes, her bottom lip trembling. "Are you leaving again?" The question stabbed through him. "No." He knelt down so they were eye to eye. "I'm staying right here. Go with Grandma. Get warm. I'll come check on you in a few minutes. Promise. Promise." Ruby took Helen's hand. They walked past Catherine without looking at her, their footsteps leaving wet prints on the floor. Andrew listened to them climb the stairs, listened to the bathroom door close, and only then did he turn back to his fiancée. Catherine had started crying. Quiet tears running down her face, her shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry. Andrew, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I just snapped. I've been under so much pressure with the wedding planning and managing the house and trying to keep everything perfect for you and—" "How long has this been going on?" She blinked. "What? How long have you been treating them like this?" "I haven't been treating them like anything. This was one time. One mistake. I lost control for 1 second and—" Ruby was still in her school clothes at midnight. Andrew's voice stayed level. Calm. The same tone he used in boardrooms when he was about to fire someone. She fell asleep on top of her covers with her shoes on. My mother looked terrified. Not surprised. Terrified. Like she knew something bad was coming. Catherine wiped her face with the back of her hand. "You're twisting this. You're making it sound worse than it was. You poured dirty mop water on a 7-year-old child and a 72-year-old woman. I told you I lost my temper. Why was there mop water? Andrew moved closer. Why did you have a bucket of dirty water ready to dump on them? Were you planning this? Were you standing there waiting for an excuse? No. God, no. I just finished mopping and they came in and Ruby knocked over the juice and it went everywhere and I just... Catherine's voice broke. I just wanted one clean room. One space that wasn't chaos. Is that so terrible? Andrew looked at her. Really looked. The woman he'd proposed to 9 months ago at a restaurant in Malibu. The woman who'd seemed calm and organized and everything his life needed after 3 years of grief and chaos following his wife's death. The woman who'd smiled at Ruby and promised to love her like her own. He didn't recognize her. Maybe he never had. Pack a bag, he said. Catherine's tears stopped. What? Pack a bag. You're leaving tonight. Andrew, no. Please. We can talk about this. We can work through it. Every couple fights and... We're not fighting. This isn't a fight. This is me telling you to get out of my house. She grabbed his arm. Her fingers dug in, desperate. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you and we're supposed to get married in 3 months and I've already sent out the invitations and my family is flying in from Boston and... I don't care about the invitations. Please. Catherine's voice climbed higher. Please don't do this. I can change. I'll apologize to them. I'll make it right. Just give me a chance to. You threw dirty water on my daughter. The sentence hung in the air between them. Simple. Undeniable. Catherine let go of his arm. She took a step back. Her face changed. The tears dried up fast, replaced by something harder. Fine. You want me gone. I'll go. But don't act like you're innocent in this. You dump your family on me and disappear for weeks at a time and expect me to just handle everything. You treat me like hired help instead of your partner. You chose work over us every single time. I chose work to provide for us. You chose work to avoid us. Catherine's voice turned sharp again. Cold. You couldn't handle being a real father to Ruby, so you threw money at the problem. You couldn't deal with your mother's grief, so you stuck her in a guest room and hoped she'd fade into the wallpaper. You wanted me to manage your life so you wouldn't have to feel anything. And now you're shocked that I'm exhausted? That I resent being treated like a glorified nanny. Some of it landed. Andrew felt the truth in her words even as he rejected the conclusion. He had worked too much. Had avoided the hard conversations. Had let Catherine take on more than was fair. But none of that excused what she'd done. You're right, he said quietly. I failed them. I failed you. I put work first and I avoided dealing with my own pain and I made you carry too much. You're absolutely right about all of that. Catherine's expression softened slightly. So we can. But that doesn't make what you did okay. You hurt them, Catherine. You humiliated them. And the way my mother looked at you? That wasn't the first time. Maybe the first time you went this far, but not the first time you made her feel small in her own home. It's not her home. It's yours. It's ours. No. Andrew shook his head. It was going to be ours. It's not anymore. The engagement is off. The wedding is canceled. I'll handle the vendors and the deposits and the explanations. You just need to pack your things and go. Catherine stared at him. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then she laughed. A short, bitter sound. You're serious. Completely. Where am I supposed to go? It's almost 1 a.m. Hotel. Your sister's place. I don't care. But you're not staying here tonight. Half my things are here. My clothes, my books, my... Take what you can carry now. I'll have the rest sent wherever you want. Catherine's jaw tightened. You're going to regret this. You think you can do better than me? You think someone else is going to put up with your workaholic tendencies and your broken family and your dead wife's ghost hanging over everything? The mention of his late wife hit like a slap. Andrew's hands curled into fists at his sides. He forced them open again. Get out. Andrew. Get out. Catherine stood there another few seconds, her face twisted with anger and something that might have been genuine hurt underneath. Then she turned and walked out of the kitchen. He listened to her footsteps on the stairs, heard her moving around in the bedroom overhead, heard drawers opening and closing. Andrew looked down at the puddle on the floor, the dirty water spreading across the tiles. He grabbed the mop Catherine had dropped and started cleaning it up, the repetitive motion giving his hands something to do while his mind tried to catch up with what had just happened. He'd ended his engagement, kicked his fiancée out, blown up the life he'd been building for the past year. And he didn't regret it. Not even a little. The stairs creaked. Catherine appeared in the kitchen doorway with a suitcase and her purse. Her eyes were red but dry now. This isn't over. You can't just throw me away like garbage. I'm not throwing you away. I'm protecting my family. I was supposed to be your family. You were. Andrew leaned on the mop handle. And then you proved you weren't. Catherine opened her mouth, closed it again. She pulled her car keys from her purse. You'll call me tomorrow. After you calm down. After you realize you're making a mistake. He didn't answer. She waited another beat, then walked out. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Andrew stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by wet floor and the smell of dirty water, and felt the weight of the last 20 minutes settle onto his shoulders. Upstairs, he heard the bath still running. Heard Ruby's voice, small and scared, asking Helen something he couldn't make out. He abandoned the mop and headed for the stairs. The bathroom door was open. Helen sat on the closed toilet lid, still in her wet robe, watching Ruby in the tub. The water was warm, steam rising, and Ruby had her knees pulled up to her chest. She looked so small. Helen saw him first. She's okay. Just cold. Andrew sat down on the floor beside the tub. He rolled up his sleeves and reached for the cup they used to rinse Ruby's hair, filled it with warm water and poured it gently over her head. She flinched. It's just water, baby. Clean water. Ruby nodded but didn't relax. He washed her hair slowly, carefully, working the shampoo through the tangles. Helen got up and found a clean towel, set it on the counter. Neither of them spoke. The only sounds were the water and Ruby's quiet breathing. After a while, Ruby said, "Is Catherine coming back?" "No. Ever. No." Ruby was quiet for another minute. Then, "Good." Andrew stopped washing and looked at his daughter. "How long has she been mean to you?" Ruby stared at the bathwater. "A while." "How long is a while?" "Since summer. After you went to New York that one time for 2 weeks." 3 months. Catherine had been hurting his daughter for 3 months, and he'd missed it completely. "What else did she do?" he asked quietly. Ruby picked at the edge of the tub. "She yelled a lot. Called me clumsy. Said I was messy and stupid, and if I can't even pour juice without spilling, then maybe I shouldn't eat at the table anymore. She made me eat dinner in my room sometimes." Helen made a soft sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Andrew kept his voice steady. "What about Grandma? Was Catherine mean to her too?" "Yeah. She said Grandma was old and useless and taking up space. She said Grandma should go back to her apartment because she was ruining everything." Helen stood up abruptly and left the bathroom. Andrew heard her footsteps in the hallway, heard her bedroom door close. He finished rinsing Ruby's hair, helped her out of the tub, wrapped her in the towel. She was shivering again despite the warm water. "I should have told you," Ruby whispered. "But Catherine said if I told, you'd be mad at me. She said you were already stressed about work and I'd just make it worse." Andrew pulled his daughter close, towel and all. "You did nothing wrong. Nothing. Do you hear me?" Ruby nodded against his chest. "I'm the one who messed up. I should have been here more. I should have paid attention. I should have protected you. You're here now." Such simple words. Such simple faith. Andrew carried Ruby to her room, helped her into clean pajamas, tucked her into bed properly this time. He sat on the edge of the mattress and held her hand until her breathing evened out and she fell asleep. Then he went to check on his mother. Helen's door was closed but not locked. He knocked softly. "Mom, come in." She sat in the chair by the window, still in her wet robe, staring out at the dark yard. Andrew grabbed the blanket from her bed and draped it over her shoulders. "You should change. You'll catch cold. In a minute." He pulled up the ottoman and sat facing her. Waited. Finally, Helen said, "I should have told you." Ruby said the same thing. "I'm serious, Andrew. I knew she was cruel. I saw how she looked at us when you weren't around. Like we were problems to solve instead of people. But I thought," her voice cracked, "I thought if I just stayed out of her way, kept Ruby quiet and well-behaved, maybe she'd warm up to us. Maybe she'd see we weren't trying to take you away from her." "Mom." "I was afraid." Helen looked at him then, her eyes wet. "I was afraid if I told you the truth, you'd have to choose between us and her. And you'd just lost your wife. You were finally moving forward. Finally seemed happy again. I didn't want to be the one who ruined that." Andrew reached out and took his mother's hand. "You wouldn't have been ruining anything. She was already ruined. I just didn't see it. Neither of us saw it." Helen squeezed his fingers. "Or maybe we both saw it and hoped we were wrong." They sat in silence for a while. Outside, a car drove past. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. "I ended it," Andrew said. "The engagement. She's gone." Helen nodded slowly. "How do you feel?" He thought about it. Searched for regret or doubt or second thoughts. Found nothing but relief. "Like I just dodged a bullet," he said. "Like I almost married someone who would have made all of us miserable." "What happens now?" Good question. 3 months until a wedding that would never happen. Deposits lost. Explanations owed. His business partners asking questions. Catherine's family demanding answers. The mess of disentangling their lives. But underneath all that, something simpler. "Now," Andrew said, "I figure out how to be the father and son I should have been all along." Helen smiled for the first time since he'd gotten home. It was small and sad but real. "That's a good start," she said. Andrew didn't sleep that night. He sat in his home office with the lights off, watching the sky shift from black to gray to pale orange as Wednesday morning broke over Los Angeles. His phone sat on the desk in front of him, screen dark, silent. At 6:30, it started buzzing. Catherine's name flashed across the screen. He let it ring through to voicemail. 30 seconds later, she called again. He declined the call. A text came through, "We need to talk. Please." He deleted it without responding. By 7, Ruby padded into the office in her pajamas, dragging her stuffed triceratops. She climbed into his lap without asking and tucked herself against his chest. They sat like that for 20 minutes, neither of them speaking, watching the morning light spread across the canyon. Helen appeared in the doorway around 7:30. She'd changed into real clothes, jeans and a soft purple sweater, her hair still damp from the shower. "I'm making breakfast. Pancakes." Ruby perked up. "Chocolate chip. Is there any other kind?" Andrew carried Ruby to the kitchen and set her at the table. Helen moved around the space slowly, her hip clearly bothering her, but she waved him off when he tried to help. "I've got it. Sit." So he sat. Watched his mother mix batter and heat the griddle. Watched Ruby color in a dinosaur book, her tongue poking out in concentration. Normal morning things. Except nothing felt normal. His phone buzzed again. Different name this time. Trevor Chen, his business partner. Andrew stepped into the hallway to answer. "Morning. Did you really kick Catherine out last night?" Trevor's voice came through sharp and urgent. "She called Vanessa at midnight crying. Said you threw her out over a misunderstanding." Vanessa was Trevor's wife. Catherine's friend. Or what passed for a friend in their social circle. "It wasn't a misunderstanding," Andrew said. "What happened? That's between me and Catherine." "The hell it is. We've got the investor dinner Friday night. The Matsuda deal. You're supposed to bring your fiancée. We've been planning this for weeks. Then I'll come alone. Trevor went quiet for a beat. Andrew. Whatever happened, you need to fix it. Fast. Matsuda is old-fashioned. He likes family men. Stable relationships. If you show up single after we've been talking about your upcoming wedding for the last 2 months. I don't care what Matsuda likes. You should care. He's bringing 40 million to the table. 40 million we need to scale the platform. Andrew closed his eyes. I'll handle Matsuda. By handle you mean what? Make up with Catherine by Friday. By handle I mean I'll find another investor if Matsuda has a problem with my personal life. Trevor exhaled hard. You're being irrational. Whatever she did, it can't be worth blowing up everything we've built. She dumped dirty water on my daughter and my mother. Silence on the other end. Long enough that Andrew thought the call had dropped. Then, what? I came home early. Found her standing in my kitchen with a mop bucket. Drenched both of them in filthy water because Ruby spilled juice. More silence. Trevor. Trevor stopped. Started again. Are you sure? I mean, Catherine can be intense, but she wouldn't. I saw it happen. I stood there and watched her do it. Jesus. So no, I'm not making up with her by Friday. I'm not making up with her at all. The engagement is off. Trevor was quiet again. When he spoke, his voice had shifted. Softer. Is Ruby okay? Scared. Upset. But okay. And your mom? Same. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know it was like that. Neither did I. They ended the call with Trevor promising to handle the Matsuda situation. Andrew didn't believe him, but that was a problem for later. He went back to the kitchen. Helen had a stack of pancakes ready, golden brown with chocolate chips melting through. Ruby was already eating, syrup dripping down her chin. Who was that? Helen asked. Trevor. Catherine called his wife last night. What did she say? That I threw her out over a misunderstanding. Helen flipped another pancake. A misunderstanding. That's what we're calling it. Andrew sat down and pulled a plate toward him. That's what she's calling it. I'm calling it assault. Ruby looked up. What's assault? Nothing you need to worry about, baby. She went back to her pancakes, but Andrew saw Helen's expression shift. The word had landed. You think it was that serious? Helen asked quietly. You were there. What would you call it? Helen set the spatula down. Turned off the burner. I'd call it a woman who lost control. Who let her worst impulses win. But assault sounds legal. Criminal. Because it was criminal. Andrew. She dumped dirty water on a child, Mom. If a teacher did that at Ruby School, they'd be arrested. If a babysitter did it, we'd press charges. Why is it different because she was my fiancée? Helen didn't answer right away. She poured herself coffee, added cream, took a long sip. What are you saying? You want to call the police. Did he? Andrew thought about it. Pictured Catherine in handcuffs. A police report. Ruby having to tell strangers what happened. The media attention that would follow if it got out. Tech CEO's fiancé arrested for child abuse. No, he said finally. I don't want to put Ruby through that. But I want Catherine to understand what she did. I want her to face real consequences, not just a broken engagement. Sometimes a broken engagement is consequence enough. Maybe. Or maybe that was just the easy way out. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Catherine. I know you're angry, but we can work through this. I love you. Please just talk to me. Then another. I booked a hotel in Santa Monica. Room 412 at the Shore Hotel. Come see me. Let me explain. And another. Please, Andrew. Don't throw away what we have over one mistake. He showed the messages to Helen. She read them and shook her head. She really thinks this is fixable. What would you do? Andrew asked. If you were me. Helen looked at Ruby, still eating pancakes, oblivious to the adult conversation happening around her. I'd do exactly what you did. I'd protect my child. But I'd also make sure I was seeing clearly. Not just reacting. You loved her enough to propose. That doesn't just disappear overnight. It does when you see who they really are. Does it? Helen sat down across from him. Or does it take time to process? To grieve what you thought you had? Andrew pushed his pancakes around the plate. He hadn't taken a bite yet. What are you saying? You think I should talk to her? I'm saying you're making big decisions on no sleep after a traumatic night. Maybe give yourself a day before you decide what comes next. She had a point. Everything in him wanted to act fast. Cut clean, move on. But maybe that was the same impulse that had let him propose to Catherine in the first place. Quick decisions. No time to think. Stay busy so you don't have to feel. I'll think about it, he said. Helen nodded and went back to the stove. Andrew's phone rang again. Not Catherine this time. A number he didn't recognize. Local area code. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Winters. A woman's voice. Professional. Careful. Speaking. This is Dana Wolfe. I'm an attorney. Catherine Hayes hired me this morning. Andrew set his fork down. She hired a lawyer? She did. I'm calling to see if we can resolve this situation amicably before it escalates. Before it escalates into what? Mr. Winters, my client tells me you forcibly removed her from her residence last night without proper notice. That you've refused to return her property. That you've made threats regarding her personal safety. Andrew stood up from the table and walked into the hallway. That's a lie. All of it. So you didn't ask her to leave the property? I did. Because she assaulted my daughter and my mother. Pause on the other end. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious action. I witnessed it myself. Mr. Winters, emotions are clearly running high. My client is willing to overlook certain behaviors from last night if you're willing to do the same. She's proposing a cooling-off period. 30 days. During which you both agree not to contact each other, not to make public statements, and not to dispose of jointly held property. We don't have jointly held property. The house is mine. The car I gave her is registered in my name. Everything she took last night was hers. The engagement ring would be considered a conditional gift in California. If the engagement ends, the ring should be returned. Andrew almost laughed. She can keep the ring. I don't want it back. That's generous. What about the wedding deposits? My client has incurred significant expenses preparing for the ceremony. She's asking for compensation. She can ask all she wants. The answer is no. Dana Wolfe's voice cooled several degrees. Mr. Winters, I'd advise you to reconsider. If this matter proceeds to litigation, it will become public record. Your company, your reputation, your custody of your daughter. All of it becomes fair game. The threat landed like she'd meant it to. Are you threatening to go after my custody? Andrew asked quietly. I'm pointing out that in any legal proceeding, all aspects of fitness and stability get examined. A judge might have questions about why a single father with demanding work obligations chose to end his engagement so abruptly. About whether his home environment is stable for a young child. Andrew's hand tightened around the phone. My home environment is fine. Better than fine now that your client isn't in it. That's your perspective. Others might disagree. What does she want? To talk. In person. Just the two of you. No lawyers, no drama. Give her a chance to explain what happened and apologize properly. She had a chance to apologize last night. She chose to make excuses instead. People say things they don't mean when they're emotional. My client deeply regrets what happened. She wants to make amends. Andrew looked back into the kitchen. Ruby had finished eating and was showing Helen something in her dinosaur book. His mother was smiling, nodding along, looking more relaxed than she had in months. This was what peace looked like. Quiet mornings without walking on eggshells. No tension crackling under every interaction. He didn't want to give that up. But he also didn't want a legal battle. Didn't want Catherine's lawyer digging through his life, questioning his fitness as a father, dragging Ruby into court proceedings. One conversation, Andrew said. Public place. 1 hour. She apologizes, we agree to part ways cleanly, and that's the end of it. That's reasonable. When? Today. 3 o'clock. The Coffee Bean on Sunset Boulevard. I'll inform my client. Thank you, Mr. Winters. The line went dead. Andrew stood in the hallway, phone still pressed to his ear, feeling like he'd just made a mistake but not sure what else he could have done. Helen appeared in the kitchen doorway. Who was that? Catherine's lawyer. She hired a lawyer? It's been less than 12 hours. She works fast when she wants something. What does she want? To talk. I agreed to meet her this afternoon. Helen's expression tightened. Is that wise? Probably not. But if I don't, she'll drag this out. Make it ugly. Go after custody. She can't take Ruby from you. Maybe not. But she can make me fight for her. Put us all through hell in the process. Helen came closer, lowered her voice. So you're going to give in? Let her manipulate you. I'm going to hear her out. One conversation. Public place. Then I'm done. And if she doesn't accept that you're done? Good question. One Andrew didn't have an answer for. Ruby called from the kitchen. Dad, can we go to the park today? Andrew looked at his mother. Will you take her? I've got this meeting at 3, but we could go this morning. All of us. Helen hesitated, then nodded. The park sounds good. They spent the morning at Runyon Canyon, hiking the easy trails, letting Ruby run ahead and climb rocks and chase lizards. The October sun was warm but not hot. The air smelled like sage and dust, and for a few hours Andrew could almost forget about Catherine and lawyers and the mess waiting for him. Almost. At 2:30, he kissed Ruby goodbye and headed for the Coffee Bean. Arrived early. Ordered black coffee he didn't drink. Sat at a table by the window where he could see the door. Catherine walked in at 3 on the dot. She looked different. Hair down instead of pulled back. Minimal makeup. Jeans and a plain white shirt instead of the designer clothes she usually wore. She dressed to look vulnerable. Approachable. It almost worked. She saw him and her eyes went red immediately. She crossed the coffee shop and sat down across from him without ordering anything. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. Andrew didn't respond. Catherine twisted her hands together on the table. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. What I did was horrible. Inexcusable. I've been up all night thinking about it and I just... Her voice cracked. I don't even recognize myself. I don't know what happened to me. You dumped dirty water on my family. I know. You humiliated them. Scared them. Made them feel unsafe in their own home. I know. Andrew, I know. And I'm so sorry. She reached across the table for his hand. He pulled back. Catherine's face crumpled. Please just let me explain. Your lawyer said you wanted to apologize. So apologize and let's be done. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Catherine took a shaky breath. I've been struggling. 4 months. With anxiety and stress and feeling like I'm drowning. Planning the wedding, managing the house, taking care of your family while you're gone all the time. I should have told you I was overwhelmed. I should have asked for help. But I thought I could handle it. I thought if I just tried harder, worked harder, kept everything perfect, you'd... She stopped. Wiped her eyes. You'd see me. Really see me. Not just as the woman who keeps your life organized. Some part of Andrew heard the truth in that. The same truth she'd thrown at him last night. He had treated her like a manager more than a partner. Had dumped responsibility on her and walked away. But that still didn't excuse what she'd done. I'm sorry I put too much on you, he said. I'm sorry I wasn't present. But none of that justifies hurting them. I know that. God, Andrew, I know. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm trying to explain how I got to a place where I could do something so awful. I need help. Professional help. Therapy, maybe medication. I've already called a psychiatrist. I have an appointment tomorrow. That's good. You should do that. But I need you too. I need us. Please don't give up on me. On us. Not over one terrible mistake. Andrew looked at her. Saw the tears, the trembling hands, the genuine distress in her eyes. Maybe she did regret it. Maybe she was genuinely sorry. Maybe with therapy and time she could change. But Ruby's face kept flashing in his mind. The way she'd flinched when he poured clean water over her head. The way she'd said, "Good," when he told her Catherine wasn't coming back. "I can't," he said. "I can't risk it." Risk what? Putting them through this again. What if you lose control again? What if next time is worse? I can't gamble with their safety. Catherine's tears stopped. Her expression hardened slightly. So that's it. One mistake and I'm thrown away. It wasn't one mistake. Ruby told me you've been cruel to her for months. Called her names. Made her eat alone. Told her she was stupid. Catherine went pale. She said that. All of it. And my mother confirmed it. They're lying. They're not. They've been trying to get rid of me since I moved in. They never wanted me there. Never accepted me. And now they're using one bad moment to poison you against me. Andrew stood up. We're done here. Andrew, wait. No. I gave you a chance to apologize. You spent it making excuses and blaming them. So we're done. Don't contact me again. Don't come to the house. We'll communicate through lawyers if we need to. He walked out of the coffee shop, leaving Catherine sitting alone at the table. His phone was already buzzing before he reached his car. He silenced it without looking. Drove home with his hands tight on the wheel, his jaw clenched, his head pounding. Helen and Ruby were in the backyard when he got back. Ruby was drawing with sidewalk chalk, her tongue poking out in concentration just like this morning. Helen sat on the patio reading a book. Andrew stood at the back door and watched them. This was what mattered. These two people. Not Catherine. Not the wedding. Not the Matsuda deal or the investor dinners or any of it. Just this. Ruby looked up and saw him. Her face split into a grin. Dad, come draw with me. So he did. 5 days passed. 5 days of silence from Catherine, which should have felt like relief but instead felt like the quiet before something broke. Andrew took the week off work. Sent emails to Trevor saying he needed time to handle personal matters. Trevor didn't push, just forwarded the Matsuda dinner details with a note. Rescheduled for next month. Take care of your family. He drove Ruby to school every morning at Vista Elementary on Barrington Avenue. Picked her up every afternoon. They got ice cream at Salt and Straw on Monday. Went to the Natural History Museum downtown on Tuesday to see the dinosaur exhibit Ruby had been begging to visit. Wednesday they just stayed home, reading books and building elaborate structures with her blocks that always ended with a T-Rex knocking everything down. Normal things. Father-daughter things he'd missed while building his company. Helen's hip was getting stronger. She walked without the cane some days now. Did physical therapy exercises in the living room while Ruby was at school. She cooked dinner every night. Pot roast on Monday. Chicken parmesan on Tuesday. Salmon with roasted vegetables on Wednesday. The house felt different without Catherine. Lighter. Like they could all breathe properly again. Thursday morning, the doorbell rang at 9:30. Andrew was in the kitchen making coffee. Helen had taken Ruby to school. He wasn't expecting anyone. He opened the door to find a woman in her late 20s standing on the porch. She had Catherine's blonde hair but softer features, less severe. She wore scrubs printed with cartoon stethoscopes. A hospital badge clipped to her pocket read Nicole Hayes, RN. Catherine's younger sister, Mr. Winters. She had Catherine's voice too, but warmer. I'm Nicole. We met once at that fundraiser last spring. Andrew remembered. Vaguely. Catherine had introduced her sister briefly before pulling him away to meet a donor. "What can I do for you?" he asked, not unkindly but not warmly either. Nicole shifted her weight. "Can I come in? Just for a few minutes. I promise I'm not here to ambush you or guilt you or anything like that. I just need to talk to you about Catherine." Every instinct told him to say no. Close the door. Keep Catherine and anyone connected to her out of his life. But Nicole looked genuinely worried, not manipulative. And she'd asked, not demanded. 5 minutes, Andrew said, stepping back to let her in. She followed him to the living room but didn't sit when he gestured to the couch. She stood there with her purse clutched in both hands, her eyes taking in the space. "Nice house," she said. "Thank you. What's this about?" Nicole took a breath. "Catherine's in trouble. Real trouble. I don't know if you know this, but the apartment she was living in before she moved in here? You co-signed the lease." Andrew nodded slowly. "I remember. The landlord won't let her back in without your approval. Says you're jointly responsible for the property, and since you two split, he needs both signatures to reinstate her tenancy. So she can find another apartment." She tried. But every place she applies, they run credit and employment checks. She quit her job at the marketing firm 6 months ago when you asked her to focus on wedding planning and managing your household. So now she's unemployed with no recent work history. And the car she's been driving? She told me you gave it to her for her birthday. I did. But it's still registered in your name, which means legally it's yours. The insurance company contacted her yesterday saying they can't continue coverage unless the registration matches the policyholder. Andrew hadn't thought about any of this. Hadn't considered what Catherine would do for transportation or housing or income. He'd just wanted her gone. "What does she expect me to do about it?" he asked. "She doesn't expect anything. She didn't send me here. She doesn't even know I'm talking to you." Nicole finally sat down, perched on the edge of the couch. "I'm here because my sister has been sleeping in her car for the last 3 nights and I'm worried about her." The words landed hard. Andrew sat down in the chair across from her. "Her car," he repeated. "The hotel was $200 a night. She could only afford 2 nights. After that she tried staying with friends, but they all made excuses. Your social circle dropped her fast once word got out the engagement was off. So she's been parking in different lots, sleeping in the backseat, showering at the gym." Andrew rubbed his face. "I didn't know. How could you? You're not talking to her. And again, I'm not blaming you. I don't know exactly what happened between you two, but Catherine called me that first night crying so hard I could barely understand her. Said she'd messed up bad. Ruined everything. Hurt people she shouldn't have hurt. Did she tell you what she did?" Nicole met his eyes. "She said she lost her temper and did something cruel to your mother and daughter. She didn't go into details, but I've known my sister her whole life. I know what she's capable of when she's backed into a corner." "Backed into a corner?" Andrew's voice went sharp. "She dumped dirty mop water on a 7-year-old child and a 70-year-old woman because they spilled juice." Nicole flinched but didn't look away. "I believe you. And I'm not here to defend what she did. I'm here because she's my sister and she's falling apart and I don't know what else to do." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because whether you two get back together or not, you were together. You were going to marry her. And I think part of you still cares what happens to her, even if you're angry." "Did he?" Andrew sat with the question. Found the answer somewhere under the rage and betrayal. "Yes. Unfortunately, yes." "What do you want from me?" he asked quietly. "Let her come get the rest of her things from the house. Let her take the car since you gave it to her. And maybe," Nicole paused, "maybe just talk to her one more time. Not as her ex-fiancée. Just as another human being." "I already talked to her. At the coffee shop. She spent the whole time making excuses." "That was 5 days ago. Before she spent 3 nights sleeping in a car. Before she lost everything. People change fast when they hit bottom. Andrew thought about Ruby, about Helen, about the peace they'd found this week. Thought about inviting any piece of Catherine back into their lives, even temporarily. I can't, he said. I can't risk it. Nicole nodded slowly. I understand. But can I tell you something? Not about Catherine. About me. Andrew gestured for her to continue. I'm a nurse. I work in the ER at Cedars-Sinai. I see people at their absolute worst every single day. Overdoses, suicide attempts, car accidents, assault victims. And you know what I've learned? People are capable of terrible things when they're in pain. But they're also capable of change. Real change. If they get the right help and the right chance. Your sister needs therapy, not another chance from me. She needs both. But I'm not asking you to take her back. I'm asking you to give her closure. Let her apologize properly. Let her move forward without this hanging over her. Andrew stood up. I'll think about it. Nicole stood too. She pulled a business card from her purse and set it on the coffee table. That's my number. If you change your mind. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry about what happened to your family. Nobody deserves that. Andrew walked her to the door. She paused on the threshold. Can I ask you something? She said. Go ahead. Do you think people can come back from their worst moment? Or are we just defined by the worst thing we've ever done? Andrew thought about his own worst moments. The day his wife died and he'd screamed at the doctors who couldn't save her. The months afterward when he'd barely looked at Ruby because seeing her meant confronting his grief. The years he'd spent building a company while his daughter grew up with nannies and his mother grew old alone. He'd come back from those moments. Slowly, painfully, but he'd come back. I don't know, he said honestly. I hope so. Nicole smiled sadly. Me too. She left. Andrew closed the door and stood in the entryway, staring at her business card on the coffee table. Helen came home 20 minutes later, her arms full of grocery bags. Andrew helped her unpack. Who was that earlier? Helen asked. I saw someone leaving when I pulled up. Catherine's sister. Helen stopped putting away vegetables. What did she want? Andrew told her. All of it. The apartment situation, the car, Catherine sleeping in the back seat for 3 nights. When he finished, Helen was quiet for a long moment. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm thinking that's not our problem. I know. I'm also thinking you're considering making it our problem. Andrew leaned against the counter. She's living in her car, Mom. Because of choices she made. Because I took away everything she had. Everything you gave her. There's a difference. Helen closed the refrigerator and turned to face him. Andrew, I understand the impulse to help. You're a good man. You want to fix things. But this woman hurt your daughter. Hurt me. You don't owe her anything. I know that. But I keep thinking about what Ruby said yesterday. We were reading that book about the kid who learns to forgive the bully. And she asked me if forgiveness means you have to be friends with someone again or if you can forgive them and still stay away. What did you tell her? I told her you can forgive someone and still protect yourself. That forgiveness is about letting go of anger, not inviting someone back into your life. Helen nodded slowly. Smart answer. So why do I feel like I'm failing some test by not helping Catherine? Because you're confusing compassion with obligation. Helen came closer, put her hand on his arm. You can feel bad about her situation without fixing it. You can hope she gets help without being the one who provides it. She has a sister. She has other people. You're not her only option. Andrew knew she was right. Knew it in his head. But his heart kept circling back to Nicole's question. Do we get to come back from our worst moment? He spent the afternoon working from home, answering emails he'd ignored all week. Ruby came home from school chattering about a field trip to the aquarium of the Pacific coming up in 2 weeks. She wanted to see the jellyfish. Andrew promised they'd go. That night, after Ruby was asleep and Helen had gone to her room, Andrew sat on the back patio with a glass of whiskey he wasn't drinking. The October air had cooled, almost cold now. The canyon was dark and quiet. His phone sat on the table beside him. Nicole's business card next to it. He thought about Catherine in a car somewhere. Thought about his daughter sleeping safe and warm upstairs. Thought about the distance between those two realities and his role in creating it. Finally, he picked up the phone and called Nicole. She answered on the second ring. Mr. Winters? Where is she? Catherine. Yes. A pause. Why? Because I'm going to make you an offer. And I need to know she's safe before I do. She's at my apartment. I made her come stay with me tonight. She's in the shower. Andrew took a breath. This was probably a mistake. Almost certainly a mistake. But he was going to do it anyway. Here's the deal, he said. She can have the car. I'll sign over the title, remove myself from the insurance. She can come get her remaining things from the house, but I won't be here when she does. You'll supervise. She takes what's hers and nothing else. That's generous. Thank you. I'm not finished. Andrew set his whiskey down. I'll also give her something else. A chance to make actual amends. Not with me. With the people she hurt. I don't understand. Your sister needs a job, right? She needs income and a place to live. Yes. Then she can work for me. Minimum wage. Live-in position in the guest house behind the main property. She'll help my mother with daily tasks, assist with Ruby's care when needed, handle household duties. Cooking, cleaning, errands. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a job, not a reconciliation. Nicole was quiet for so long Andrew thought she'd hung up. You're serious, she finally said. Completely. Why would you do that? After what she did. Because everyone deserves a chance to make things right. And because my mother needs more help than she'll admit and Ruby needs more attention than I can give her while running a company. If Catherine wants to prove she's changed, this is how she does it. Through service. Through showing up every day and doing the hard work of earning forgiveness. What if she hurts them again? Then she's out immediately. No second chances after this. But I think your sister hit bottom. And I think sometimes people need a hand up when they're there. I need to talk to her about it. Do that. But Nicole, make sure she understands the terms. This isn't me taking her back. This isn't a relationship. This is employment. Probationary employment. One wrong move and it's over. I'll make sure she understands. And I need to clear it with my mother and Ruby. If either of them says no, the offer's off the table. Of course. They ended the call. Andrew sat in the dark, wondering if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life or the first right decision in months. He'd find out soon enough. Inside, a light came on in Helen's room. A minute later, she appeared at the back door in her robe. Can't sleep? She asked. Thinking too much. She came out and sat in the chair next to him. About Catherine. How did you know? Because I know you. You've got that look you get when you're about to do something noble and possibly stupid. Andrew almost smiled. I just offered Catherine a job. Helen's expression didn't change. What kind of job? He explained the whole thing. The terms, the expectations, the probationary nature of it all. When he finished, Helen was quiet. Say something, Andrew said. I'm trying to figure out if you're being merciful or masochistic. Maybe both. Helen looked out at the dark canyon. You're asking me to live with the woman who humiliated me, who hurt my granddaughter. I'm asking if you'd be willing to give her a chance to make amends. Not as my fiancée. As someone who owes you both an apology she can only give through actions. And if I say no, then I'll call Nicole back and cancel the offer. Your comfort matters more than my conscience. Helen was quiet for a long time. Finally, what did Ruby say? I haven't asked her yet. Wanted to talk to you first. Ask her tomorrow. If she says yes, I'll try. But Andrew, Helen looked at him. The second she steps out of line, the second I see that cruelty in her eyes again, she's gone. I won't sacrifice our peace for your redemption project." Fair enough. They sat together in the quiet. After a while, Helen went back inside. Andrew stayed on the patio until past midnight, watching the stars come out, wondering what he'd just set in motion. Friday morning, Andrew made Ruby her favorite breakfast. Scrambled eggs with cheese, toast cut into triangles, orange juice in the plastic cup with dinosaurs on it. She ate slowly, watching him with those big brown eyes that saw more than he gave her credit for. "Dad, why are you being weird?" Andrew sat down across from her. "I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest with me, okay? Really honest." Ruby set down her fork. "Am I in trouble?" "No, baby. Not at all. This is about Catherine." Ruby's face went tight. Small. She looked down at her plate. "She's not coming back to live here," Andrew said quickly. "That's not what I'm asking. But I wanted to know how you'd feel if she came back to work here. To help Grandma with things around the house. To help me take care of you when I'm busy with work." Ruby picked at her toast. Didn't answer. "She'd live in the guest house out back," Andrew continued. "Not in the main house with us. And she'd just be here to work. Like a helper. Not like before. Would she still be mean?" The question hit him square in the chest. "I don't think so," Andrew said carefully. "I think she knows she messed up really bad. And I think she wants a chance to show she's sorry by being helpful instead of hurtful. But if she's ever mean to you again, even once, she leaves immediately. I promise you that." Ruby pushed eggs around her plate. "What if I say no? Will you be mad?" "Never. This is your home. You get a say in who's here." She was quiet for a long minute. Then, "Can I think about it?" "Of course." Ruby ate a few more bites, thinking. Andrew waited, letting her process. Finally, she looked up. "In my book, the one about forgiveness, the kid gives the bully one more chance. But the bully has to say sorry first. A real sorry, not a fake one." "That makes sense. So if Catherine says a real sorry, and promises to be nice, then okay. She can try." Ruby's voice got smaller. "But if she's mean again, she has to leave forever." Andrew reached across and took his daughter's hand. "Deal." That afternoon, Nicole brought Catherine to the house. Andrew met them in the driveway. He'd sent Helen and Ruby to the movies so they wouldn't be there for this conversation. Catherine looked different than she had at the coffee shop. Thinner. Exhausted. Her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and a faded blue sweater that had seen better days. She didn't meet his eyes when she got out of Nicole's car. "Thank you for seeing me," she said quietly. Andrew gestured toward the back patio. "Let's talk outside." Nicole stayed by the car. Catherine followed Andrew around the house to the outdoor furniture. They sat at opposite ends of the table, the distance between them careful and deliberate. "Your sister told you the terms?" Andrew asked. Catherine nodded. "Minimum wage. Live in the guest house. Help with your mother and Ruby. Household duties." She looked up at him then. "Why are you doing this?" "Because everyone deserves a chance to make things right. Even me. Even you." Catherine's eyes filled. She blinked the tears back. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve your kindness or your mercy or anything except exactly what I got. Being cut off. Left alone. Facing consequences. You're right. You don't deserve it. But I'm offering it anyway." "Why?" Andrew leaned back in his chair. "You asked me that already. And you gave me an answer that sounds good but doesn't feel true. So I'm asking again. Why?" He took a breath. "Decided on honesty. Because 7 years ago, I held my dying wife's hand and promised her I'd take care of our daughter. And then I spent the next 3 years running from that promise. I threw myself into work. Hired nannies. Let my mother move in to fill the gaps I left. I failed Ruby in ways that still keep me up at night." Catherine listened, her face unreadable. "And when I finally decided to move forward to try again with someone new, I chose you. Not because I loved you the way I should have, but because you seemed safe, organized, someone who could manage the parts of my life I didn't want to deal with. I used you, Catherine. I used you to avoid being a real father and a real son. That doesn't excuse what I did. No, it doesn't. But it means I'm not innocent here either. I created an environment where you felt used and invisible and overwhelmed. And people do terrible things when they feel that way. Catherine wiped her face with the back of her hand. I still chose to hurt them. You didn't make me do that. No, I didn't. But I made it easier for you to get there. They sat in silence for a moment. A bird landed on the fence, chirped twice, flew away. Can I tell you something? Catherine asked. Something I should have told you months ago? Go ahead. She took a shaky breath. I grew up in Boston. Nice neighborhood, good schools, the kind of childhood that looks perfect from the outside. My mom died when I was 8. Cancer. It was fast and brutal, and my dad fell apart. Andrew waited. He remarried 2 years later. A woman named Patricia. She had 2 kids from her first marriage, both older than me and Nicole. And Patricia hated us. Not in an obvious way. Not in a way my dad could see. But in all the small, quiet ways that destroy a kid. Catherine's voice went flat, distant, like she was reading someone else's story. She made us clean constantly. Every surface had to be spotless. Every corner perfect. If we missed a spot, she'd dump whatever we'd cleaned back out and make us start over. Garbage cans, mop buckets, whatever. She'd pour it on the floor and make us clean it again while she watched. Andrew's stomach turned. Nicole was younger, only 5 when Patricia moved in. She'd cry during the cleaning sessions. Patricia would lock her in the basement until she stopped. Said crying was for babies and we needed to grow up. Did your father know? Catherine laughed bitterly. He traveled for work. Gone 3 weeks out of every month. And when he was home, Patricia was sweet as honey. Perfect stepmother. We tried to tell him once. He said we were being dramatic. Said Patricia was doing her best and we needed to be grateful someone was willing to raise us. How long did this go on? Until I turned 18 and left for college. Nicole was 11. I begged her to come with me, but there was nowhere to take her. So I left her there. Catherine's voice cracked. I abandoned my little sister with that woman for 7 more years. You were a kid yourself. I was old enough to know better. Old enough to fight harder. But I ran. And you want to know the worst part? Catherine looked at him. I swore I'd never be like Patricia. Never treat anyone the way she treated us. And then I stood in your kitchen and became exactly what I hated most. The words hung between them. Andrew thought about Ruby, drenched and shaking. About Helen trying to shield her granddaughter. About Catherine holding that bucket. The cycle of pain. Victim becoming perpetrator. Hurt people hurting people. Have you talked to anyone about this? He asked. Therapist, counselor? I started seeing someone this week. Dr. Reyes at the clinic on Wilshire. Nicole helped me find her. Someone who specializes in childhood trauma and abuse patterns. That's good. It doesn't fix what I did. No. But it's a start. Catherine twisted her hands together on the table. If I do this, if I take this job, I need you to understand something. I'm terrified. Terrified I'll mess up again. That I'll lose control and prove I'm exactly who Patricia raised me to be. Then we'll have clear boundaries. Clear consequences. And the first time you cross a line, you're out. No negotiations. That's fair. Catherine paused. Can I ask what Ruby said? When you asked her about this. She said you could try. But you have to give her a real apology first. Not a fake one. I owe her that. I owe her so much more than that. You'll get a chance to show her. Through actions, not just words. Catherine nodded slowly. When would I start? Monday. If you're serious about this. I am. Then Nicole can drive you by tomorrow to see the guest house. Get you a key. Help you move your things in. Sunday you settle. Monday you start work at 7 a.m. Catherine stood up. Andrew. He looked at her. Thank you. I know I don't deserve this. I know you're risking your family's safety and peace to give me a chance I probably don't deserve. But I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to show you that people can change. That our worst moment doesn't have to define us forever. I hope so, Andrew said. For all our sakes. Nicole drove Catherine away 20 minutes later. Andrew stood in the driveway watching them go, wondering again if he'd just made a huge mistake. Helen and Ruby came home around 5. Ruby ran to her room to play. Helen found Andrew in the kitchen, staring at nothing. She said yes. Helen asked. She said yes. And Ruby? Ruby's scared but willing to try. She made me promise 3 times that Catherine would leave if she was mean again. I made her the same promise. Helen poured herself tea. Did Catherine tell you why she is the way she is? Andrew told her about Patricia. About the abuse, the cleaning obsessions, the cycle of trauma. When he finished, Helen was quiet for a long time. That poor girl, she finally said. Which one? Catherine or Nicole? Both. Helen sipped her tea. But knowing why someone does something terrible doesn't erase the terrible thing. I know. Do you? Because it sounds like you're already making excuses for her in your head. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to understand. Understanding can become excuse if you're not careful. Helen set her cup down. I mean it, Andrew. The second she steps out of line, she's gone. I know. I promise. Helen studied his face. There's something else. Something you're not saying. Andrew leaned against the counter. When Catherine was talking about her stepmother, about the abuse, I kept thinking about my own mother. Helen went very still. You were never cruel, Andrew said quickly. Never like Patricia. But when I married Diane, you made it clear you thought I was making a mistake. That she wasn't good enough. That she came from the wrong background, didn't have the right education, would hold me back. Andrew, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying I saw how it hurt Diane. How she tried so hard to win your approval and never could. How you'd make little comments about her cooking or her clothes or the way she talked. Nothing big enough to call you out on, but constant. Relentless. Helen's face had gone pale. I didn't realize. I know you didn't. Or maybe you did and you thought you were protecting me. Either way, Diane spent 3 years feeling like she wasn't welcome in her own family. And I let it happen because confronting you felt harder than just keeping the peace. Why are you telling me this now? Because when Diane died, you said something at the funeral. You said you'd give anything to take back how you treated her. That you'd been jealous and petty and wrong, and now it was too late to make it right. Helen's eyes filled. I remember. So when I see Catherine, broken and desperate and asking for a chance to make amends, I think about you. About how much you regretted not having that chance with Diane. And I wonder if maybe this is me giving Catherine what I wish you'd had. A chance to face the people you hurt and actually make it right while there's still time. A tear slipped down Helen's cheek. She didn't wipe it away. You're a better man than I was a mother-in-law, she said quietly. You're a better mother-in-law than you give yourself credit for. You learned. You changed. You became someone Ruby adores and Diane would have appreciated if she'd lived to see it. But she didn't live to see it. No. But maybe Catherine can. Maybe we can break the cycle instead of perpetuating it. Helen came around the counter and hugged him. A real hug, tight and fierce. Your wife would be proud of the father you're becoming. I hope so. They stayed like that for a minute. Then Helen pulled back, wiped her eyes, and straightened her shoulders. Okay, she said. Catherine gets her chance. But we go in with eyes wide open. We watch for warning signs. We protect Ruby above everything else. Agreed. And if this works, if she actually changes and proves herself, then maybe we all get to heal a little. Maybe we all get to be better than our worst moments. That's the plan. Helen smiled, small but real. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. That night, Andrew tucked Ruby into bed and sat beside her in the dark. Dad, she said sleepily. Yeah, baby. Is Catherine going to be nice now? I think she's going to try really hard to be nice. What if she forgets? Then we remind her. And if she keeps forgetting, she leaves. Ruby rolled over to face him. Do you still love her? The question surprised him. No, not the way I did before. Do you love anyone? Such a simple question. Such a complicated answer. I love you, Andrew said. And Grandma. That's enough for now. But someday you might love someone else? Maybe. Someday. Someone nicer than Catherine? Andrew smiled in the dark. Definitely someone nicer than Catherine. Ruby yawned. Good. You deserve someone nice. She fell asleep before he could respond. Andrew sat there watching her breathe, thinking about second chances and cycles of pain and the possibility of becoming better than your worst moment. Outside, the October wind picked up. Leaves scattered across the yard. Somewhere in the city, Catherine was packing up her life to move into his guest house. Somewhere in the past, his wife was dying and his mother was filled with regret, and a little girl named Catherine was learning to fear the sound of mop buckets hitting the floor. And here now, in this moment, Andrew Winters was trying to do something he'd never been good at. Staying present. Facing the hard things. Showing up for the people who needed him. It wouldn't be easy. Might not even work. But for the first time in years, he was trying. That had to count for something. Catherine moved into the guest house on Sunday afternoon. Andrew watched from the kitchen window as Nicole's car pulled up, trunk loaded with boxes and suitcases. Not much. A life condensed into what could fit in a sedan. He didn't go out to help. That wasn't his role anymore. Helen did though. She walked across the yard with her cane, spoke briefly with Nicole, gestured toward the guest house. Catherine kept her head down, carrying boxes like she was afraid to look at the main house. Ruby stood beside Andrew at the window, watching. She looks sad, Ruby said. She probably is. Good. Andrew glanced down at his daughter. Good. Ruby shrugged. People should be sad when they do bad things. That's how you know they're sorry. 7 years old and already wiser than he'd been at 30. By evening, Catherine was settled. The guest house lights glowed warm through the windows. Andrew had left basic groceries in the small kitchen earlier. Coffee, eggs, bread, some fruit. Enough to get her through the first few days. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Los Angeles in late October. The marine layer thick over the canyon. Andrew was up at 6 making coffee when he heard footsteps on the back patio. Catherine stood at the door in jeans and a green sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked younger without it. More like the photos she'd shown him once from college. Before Patricia's lessons had hardened her. He opened the door. You're early. I wanted to make a good impression. 7 means 7. Not 6:30. Catherine nodded. Right. Sorry. Should I go back? Andrew stepped aside. You're here now. Come in. She entered like she was walking into a stranger's house. Which he supposed she was. This wasn't her home anymore. Just her workplace. Coffee, he asked. Please. He poured her a cup. Black. He remembered that much. She took it with both hands, warming her fingers. Helen will be down around 7:30, Andrew said. Ruby's alarm goes off at 7. She'll need help getting ready for school. Breakfast, clothes, backpack check. Helen usually handles it, but her hip's been bothering her lately. I can do that. And Ruby needs to be at Vista Elementary by 8:15. You'll take her in the Honda. He gestured to the keys on the counter. It's the older one in the garage. Not the sedan you had before. Catherine's face flickered with something. Loss, maybe. But she just nodded. Okay. After drop-off, you come back here. Helen will have a list of tasks. Grocery shopping, errands, whatever she needs. Lunch is at noon. Dinner prep starts at 5. Ruby gets picked up at 3. What about you? What about me? Do you need anything? Dry cleaning, errands, meals. Andrew shook his head. I can handle my own things. You're here for them, not me. The distinction landed. Catherine's hands tightened around the coffee mug. Understood. Helen came downstairs at 7:20, earlier than usual. She wore gray pants and a lavender cardigan. Her silver hair brushed smooth. She looked Catherine over without smiling. Good morning, Helen said. Good morning, Mrs. Winters. Just Helen. We're not formal here. Helen, Catherine repeated. Thank you for giving me this chance. Helen didn't respond to that. She turned to Andrew. I'll wake Ruby. I can do it, Catherine offered. No. Helen's voice was firm. I'll wake her. You can help her get dressed once she's up. Catherine nodded, her face carefully neutral. Ruby appeared 10 minutes later in her pajamas, her hair a tangled mess. She stopped when she saw Catherine in the kitchen. Her hand found Helen's automatically. Morning, baby, Andrew said. Catherine's going to help you get ready for school today. Ruby looked at Catherine. Catherine looked at Ruby. The silence stretched. Hi, Ruby, Catherine said quietly. I like your pajamas. Are those velociraptors? Ruby glanced down at her dinosaur print pants. Yeah. They're cool. Thanks. Another silence. I'm sorry, Catherine said suddenly. The words came out fast, urgent. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. For being cruel and scary and awful. You didn't deserve any of it. I was wrong and mean and I hurt you and I'm going to spend every day trying to make up for it. Ruby stared at her. Then looked at Andrew. He nodded slightly. Your call, kid. Ruby looked back at Catherine. Okay. Okay. You can help me get dressed. But Grandma has to stay too. That's fair, Catherine said. They went upstairs together, Ruby between Helen and Catherine like a buffer. Andrew heard water running, drawers opening, Ruby's voice asking about her yellow shirt with the stegosaurus. He left for work at 7:45. Kissed Ruby goodbye, told Helen to call if she needed anything. Didn't say anything to Catherine. This was her test. She'd pass or fail on her own. The first week passed in careful, awkward politeness. Catherine drove Ruby to school every morning. Made breakfast. Helped Helen with the shopping and the cleaning and the endless tasks that came with running a household. She was quiet, efficient, and almost invisible. Andrew came home each evening to find dinner ready. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti on Monday. Roasted chicken on Tuesday. Tacos on Wednesday. Simple food, well prepared. Did Catherine make this? He asked Helen on Wednesday night. She did. I supervised. It's good. Helen ate a bite of her taco. She's trying hard. Is that a problem? Not yet. But I'm watching. Ruby remained cautious. She let Catherine help her but didn't seek her out. Didn't initiate conversation. Treated her like a stranger who happened to live in the backyard. Friday afternoon, Andrew worked from home. He was in his office when he heard Ruby come home from school, her backpack hitting the floor in the hallway. Catherine. Ruby's voice, uncertain. In the kitchen, sweetie. Andrew got up and moved to where he could see without being seen. Ruby stood in the kitchen doorway. Catherine was at the counter, chopping vegetables. Can you help me with something? Ruby asked. Catherine set down the knife immediately. Of course. What do you need? I have to write a story for class. About someone who made a mistake and fixed it. But I don't know what to write. Catherine dried her hands on a towel. What kind of mistake? A big one. Not like spilling juice. Like really big. Can I tell you a story? Catherine asked. About a mistake I made? Ruby hesitated, then nodded. They sat at the kitchen table. Catherine pulled Ruby's chair around so they were side by side, not across from each other. When I was your age, Catherine began, I had a little sister. Her name is Nicole. You met her. The nurse. Right. The nurse. And when we were kids, we lived with a woman who was really mean to us. She made us clean all the time and got mad when we made messes, and sometimes she'd punish us by making us do things over and over until we cried. Ruby's eyes went wide. That's mean. It was really mean. And it hurt us a lot. But here's the thing. When I grew up, I was so scared of being messy or making mistakes that I started getting mad at other people when they made messes. Just like that mean woman did to me. Like when I spilled the juice. Catherine's voice caught. Yes. Like when you spilled the juice. I got so angry that I did exactly what the mean woman used to do to me. I hurt you the same way she hurt me. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made. How did you fix it? I'm trying to fix it right now. By being here. By helping instead of hurting. By showing you every day that I'm sorry and I'll never do it again. Ruby thought about this. Is it working? I don't know yet. What do you think? Ruby looked at her small hands on the table. I think you're trying. But I'm still a little bit scared of you. That's okay. You should be. I gave you a reason to be scared. Catherine's voice was steady now. But I hope someday you won't be anymore. I hope someday you'll see that people can change. That our mistakes don't have to be forever. Ruby nodded slowly. Can I use this for my story? If you want. What should I call the person? The one who made the mistake. Catherine smiled sadly. You can call her whatever you want. Maybe someone who learned that being scared of messes just makes more messes. Ruby pulled out her homework folder. Started writing. Catherine went back to chopping vegetables. Andrew stayed in the hallway, his throat tight. The second week shifted something. Catherine started arriving at the main house earlier, making coffee before Andrew came down. She'd hand him a cup as he entered the kitchen, the temperature and strength exactly right. She never asked if he wanted it, just made it and left it on the counter where he could find it. Helen's physical therapy appointments started including Catherine. She'd drive Helen to the clinic on Wilshire, wait in the lobby with a book, help her back to the car afterward. Helen's hip showed more improvement that week than it had in the previous month. She's good at this, Helen admitted one evening after Catherine had gone back to the guest house. The helping. The anticipating what I need before I ask. Does that bother you? Andrew asked. It would bother me more if she was bad at it. Then I'd have to fire her and we could all move on. Helen smiled slightly. But she's making it hard to stay angry. Ruby's fear started fading too. Small moments. Catherine would make silly faces while helping her brush her teeth. Would do different voices when reading her homework assignments. Would leave little notes in her lunchbox. Simple things. Have a great day. You're awesome. Don't forget you're brave. One morning, Ruby came downstairs and went straight to Catherine instead of Helen. Can you do my hair today? Grandma taught you that braid I like. Catherine's hands shook slightly as she worked Ruby's hair into a French braid. But her voice stayed steady. Your hair is so thick. Just like my sister's when she was little. Does Nicole still have thick hair? She does. Drives her crazy in the summer. Ruby giggled. Actually giggled. The sound filled the kitchen like light. Andrew watched from the doorway. Felt something in his chest loosen slightly. By the third week, routines had settled into place. Catherine had Tuesday and Wednesday afternoons off after Ruby's school pickup. She'd disappear to her therapy appointments, come back quiet and tired. Thursday became her day to take Helen to book club at the library on San Vicente. Friday evenings, she'd make dinner and then retreat to the guest house, giving the family space. One Thursday afternoon in mid-November, Andrew came home early to find the house empty except for voices in the backyard. He looked out the kitchen window. Catherine and Ruby were raking leaves. Or rather, Ruby was jumping in the piles Catherine raked, scattering them everywhere, and Catherine was laughing. Actually laughing. Her head thrown back, her whole face transformed. Helen sat on the patio watching them, her book forgotten in her lap. Andrew opened the back door. Catherine saw him and the laughter cut off. She went still. "Don't stop on my account," he said. Ruby ran over. "Dad, we're making the biggest leaf pile ever. Catherine says when we're done we can all jump in it together. All of us. Even you and Grandma." Andrew looked at Catherine. She wouldn't meet his eyes. "Maybe just you and Catherine this time," he said. "Grandma's hip, remember?" "Oh yeah." Ruby ran back to the leaves. Catherine started raking again, her movements careful now, controlled. Andrew sat down beside his mother. "She's good with her." "She is," Helen agreed. "How do you feel about that?" Conflicted, grateful, terrified. Helen closed her book. "She's becoming part of our lives again. Not the same way as before, but still part of things. Is that bad?" "I don't know yet." They watched Catherine and Ruby play. The afternoon sun slanted through the trees, turning the leaves golden. Ruby's laughter rang out across the yard. "Your daughter is healing," Helen said quietly. "Faster than I expected. Kids are resilient. Or maybe Catherine is genuine." Helen looked at him. "Have you considered that possibility? That she's actually changed? Every day? And I don't know what to do with that information." Helen was quiet for a moment. Then, "What if this works, Andrew? What if she proves herself and earns her way back and you have to decide whether she gets to be more than just the help? That's not what this is, isn't it? You gave her a job, yes. But you also gave her proximity to everything she lost. To Ruby, to me, to the life she had here. To you. You think she doesn't hope for more. I've been clear about the boundaries. Boundaries blur when you're living them every day." Andrew watched Catherine lift Ruby up so she could reach a high branch. Watched his daughter's trust, so carefully rebuilt. "I'm not taking her back," he said. "That's not on the table. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you need to figure out what is on the table before someone gets hurt again. Before Ruby starts hoping for something that isn't going to happen. Ruby knows this is just temporary. Just until we figure out a more permanent solution." "Does she?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like she's starting to think of Catherine as part of the family again." Andrew didn't have an answer for that. That night, after Ruby was asleep and Helen had gone to her room, Andrew walked out to the guest house. Knocked on the door. Catherine answered in sweatpants and an old Georgetown University shirt. No makeup. Hair loose. She looked surprised to see him. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Can we talk?" She stepped back to let him in. The guest house was small. One room with a kitchenette, a bathroom, a bed in the corner. She'd made it neat. Almost sterile. No personal touches except a framed photo of her and Nicole on the nightstand. "What's this about?" Catherine asked. Andrew stayed by the door. "I need to make sure we're on the same page." "About what?" "About what this is. What you're doing here." Catherine wrapped her arms around herself. "I'm working. Helping. Trying to make amends. And that's all." Her face shifted. "What else would there be?" "I don't know. You tell me." Catherine was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Do you want me to say I'm over you? That I've moved on and don't think about what we had? I want you to tell me the truth. The truth is I think about it every day. About what I lost. About what I destroyed." Her voice stayed level. "Honest. But I'm not here trying to win you back. I'm here because you gave me a chance to be better than my worst moment and I'm taking it. That's all. Ruby's getting attached to you. I know. If you leave, it'll hurt her. I know that too. So what's your plan? Work here forever? Pretend to be the help while hoping I'll change my mind?" Catherine met his eyes then. "My plan is to prove I'm trustworthy. To show Ruby and Helen and you that I'm not the person who hurt them. And then, when I've done that, when enough time has passed, I'll find another job somewhere else and move on. Because you're right. She's getting attached. And so am I. And the longer I stay, the harder it'll be to leave. How long? I don't know. 6 months. A year. However long it takes for everyone to feel secure that I've actually changed. Then I'll go. Andrew studied her face, looking for the lie, the manipulation. Found nothing but exhaustion and resignation. Okay, he said. Okay. Okay. As long as we're clear. Catherine nodded. We're clear. He turned to leave. Stopped at the door. For what it's worth, you're doing good work here. Ruby's happier. Helen's healing faster. The house runs better. You're good at this. Thank you. But that doesn't change what happened. I know. It doesn't have to. Andrew left. Walked back to the main house under the November stars, feeling like he'd clarified something important. But Helen's words echoed in his head. Boundaries blur when you're living them every day. He hoped she was wrong. He was pretty sure she wasn't. Thanksgiving week arrived with unusual heat. The Santa Ana winds blew hot and dry through the canyons, turning November into false summer. Everything felt charged, unstable, like the air itself was waiting for something to break. Catherine had been with them for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of careful routines and measured progress. 6 weeks of Ruby slowly relaxing, Helen slowly trusting, Andrew slowly forgetting why he'd been so angry in the first place. Tuesday afternoon, Trevor showed up at the house unannounced. Andrew was in his office on a conference call when the doorbell rang. He heard Catherine answer it. Heard Trevor's voice asking for him. He's working, Catherine said. Can I take a message? I need to see him now. It's important. Andrew ended the call and went to the door. Trevor stood on the porch in a navy suit, his face tight with something Andrew couldn't read. What's wrong? Andrew asked. Trevor glanced at Catherine, then back to Andrew. Can we talk? Privately. Office. They walked through the house. Catherine disappeared toward the kitchen. Andrew closed the office door behind them. What's going on? He asked. Trevor pulled out his phone. I need to show you something. And I need you to stay calm. You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. Trevor pulled up a document. This came across my desk this morning. Background check on all household staff for the new security protocols we're implementing. Andrew's stomach dropped. You ran a background check on Catherine? Not just Catherine. Everyone who has regular access to executives' homes. It's standard procedure for the insurance policy. Trevor handed him the phone. But Catherine's came back with a flag. Andrew looked at the screen. Legal documents. Court filings. A restraining order issued 3 years ago in Boston. Petitioner, Marcus Webb. Respondent, Catherine Hayes. Grounds, domestic violence, harassment, threats of physical harm. The words blurred. Andrew read them again slower. This has to be wrong, he said. It's not wrong. It's public record. There's more. Trevor swiped to the next page. Police report. Catherine Hayes arrested for assault. Charges eventually dropped, but the arrest remained on record. Andrew set the phone down. She told me about this. Her ex was abusive. She fought back once. He filed the restraining order to punish her. That's her version. You think she lied. I think there are 2 sides to every story. And I think you need to be careful who you let around your daughter. Trevor's voice went hard. Andrew, she has a documented history of violence. A restraining order. An arrest. And you have her living in your backyard, driving your kid to school, spending hours alone with your mother. She's been here 6 weeks without a single incident. Yet. Without a single incident yet. Trevor picked up his phone. What happens when she loses her temper again? When Ruby spills something or your mother asks too much or you say the wrong thing? You willing to bet your daughter's safety that she won't snap? She's changed. People don't change. Not really. They just get better at hiding who they are. Andrew's hands curled into fists. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you're thinking with your heart instead of your head. I know you feel guilty about how things ended and you're trying to save her. But you can't save someone from themselves. And you sure as hell shouldn't risk your family trying. Get out. Trevor didn't move. I'm your partner. Your friend. I'm telling you this because I care about you and Ruby. Fire her. Today. Get her out of your house before something happens. I said get out. Andrew. Now. Trevor stared at him for a long moment. Then he left, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood. Andrew sat at his desk, the background check still pulled up on his computer screen. He'd looked it up himself while Trevor was talking. Read through the documents, the police report, the restraining order filing. Marcus Webb claimed Catherine had attacked him during an argument. Thrown objects. Scratched his face. Threatened to kill him if he left her. The language was specific. Detailed. Damning. Catherine's counterfiling told a different story. Years of Marcus's abuse. Bruises she'd hidden. Threats she'd endured. One night when she finally fought back and he'd weaponized the system against her. 2 versions. Both documented. Both compelling. Which one was true? The office door opened. Catherine stood there with a tray. Coffee and the cookies she'd baked that morning. I thought you might want. She stopped. Saw his face. What's wrong? Andrew turned the computer screen toward her. Want to explain this? Catherine set the tray down. Looked at the screen. All color drained from her face. Where did you get this? She whispered. Trevor ran a background check. For insurance purposes. He had no right. He had every right. You work in my home. Around my daughter. Andrew stood up. Is it true? Is what true? The restraining order. The arrest. The assault charge. Catherine's hands started shaking. I told you about Marcus. I told you he was abusive. You said he filed a restraining order after you fought back. You didn't say you were arrested. You didn't say there was a police report detailing how you attacked him. Because that's his version. He lied to the police. Made himself the victim when he was the one who spent 2 years terrorizing me. Then why were you arrested? Because he had scratches on his face and I didn't have any visible injuries that night. Because he was calm and I was hysterical. Because the system believes whoever looks more credible, and that night it wasn't me. Andrew wanted to believe her. Every part of him wanted to believe her. But doubt had crept in. Cold and insidious. Why didn't you tell me about the arrest? He asked. When you told me about Marcus, why leave that part out? Because I knew how it would sound. I knew you'd look at me exactly the way you're looking at me right now. Like I'm dangerous. Like I'm lying. Are you lying? No. Then explain the police report. Explain why it says you threw a lamp at him. That you left scratches on his face and neck. That neighbors called 911 because they heard you screaming threats. Catherine's face crumpled. I did fight back that night. I did throw the lamp. But he just punched me in the stomach and told me if I ever tried to leave he'd make sure no one ever found my body. I fought back because I thought he was going to kill me. Did you tell the police that? Yes. But I couldn't prove it. The bruise on my stomach didn't show up until the next day. And by then he'd already filed the restraining order and painted me as the crazy ex-girlfriend who couldn't let go. Andrew sat back down. His head was pounding. I don't know what to believe, he said quietly. Catherine's hands gripped the edge of the desk. Believe me. Please. I've spent 6 weeks showing you I'm not violent. That I can be trusted. Doesn't that count for anything? 6 weeks is nothing compared to a documented pattern of violence. There is no pattern. There was one arrest, one incident, and it was self-defense. And what about what you did here? To Ruby and my mother? Was that self-defense too? The question hung in the air like poison. Catherine stepped back. That's not fair. Isn't it? You say Marcus provoked you. That you only fought back when threatened. But Ruby and my mother didn't threaten you. They spilled juice. And you dumped dirty water on them. So where's the line, Catherine? When do you lose control and when is it justified? I'm in therapy. I'm working on it. I'm not that person anymore. How do I know that? How do I know this isn't just you being on your best behavior until the next time something sets you off? Catherine's eyes filled with tears. Because I love them. I love Ruby and Helen and even you, damn it. I love this family and I would rather die than hurt them again. You loved me before. Didn't stop you from hurting them the first time. The words came out harsher than he meant them. Catherine flinched like he'd slapped her. So that's it, she said. 6 weeks of proving myself and one background check erases all of it? I have to protect my family. I am protecting your family. I get Ruby to school safely every day. I help Helen with her therapy. I keep this house running so you can focus on your work. What more do you want from me? I want to know I can trust you. You can. Can I? Andrew stood up again, his voice rising. Because right now all I see is someone with a history of violence working in my home. Someone who's already hurt my family once. Someone who might do it again. Catherine's tears spilled over. You're just like him. Just like Marcus. Twisting everything to make me the villain. Don't compare me to your abusive ex. I'm not the one with an arrest record. No, you're just the one who'd rather believe a piece of paper than the person standing in front of you. The person who's been showing you every single day that she's changed. People don't change that fast. Then why did you give me this chance? Why bring me here if you were never going to believe I could be different? Good question. One Andrew didn't have a good answer for. I think you should pack your things, he said quietly. Catherine went very still. What? I can't do this. I can't have you here. It's too much of a risk. Andrew, please. I'll pay you through the end of the month. Give you time to find another place. But I need you out by Friday. It's Tuesday. You're giving me 3 days. That's more than I gave you last time. Catherine stared at him. Something in her expression shifted. Hardened. The tears stopped. Fine, she said coldly. I'll be gone by tomorrow. Catherine. Don't pretend you care what happens to me. Don't pretend this was ever about giving me a real chance. You just wanted to feel like a good person. Like you were merciful and kind. But the second things got complicated, the second you had to actually trust me, you threw me away. Just like Marcus did. Just like my father did. Just like everyone does. She turned and walked out. Andrew heard the back door slam. Heard her footsteps across the patio toward the guest house. He sat down at his desk and put his head in his hands. 10 minutes later, Helen appeared in the doorway. What happened? Catherine just ran past me crying. Andrew told her everything. The background check, the restraining order, the arrest, the conversation. When he finished, Helen was quiet. Say something, Andrew said. What do you want me to say? That I did the right thing. That I'm protecting you and Ruby. Helen came into the office and sat down. I can't tell you that. Why not? Because I don't know if you did the right thing. I know you did the safe thing. The cautious thing. But whether it was right. She shook her head. I've been watching Catherine for 6 weeks. Watched her with Ruby. Watched her struggle and try and fail and try again. And I've never once felt afraid of her. You didn't see the police report. No. But I saw her at her worst. The night she poured that water on us. And I've seen her at her best these past weeks. And I believe people can exist in both places and still deserve a chance at redemption. What if I'm wrong? What if she hurts Ruby again? What if you're right and she doesn't? What if you just destroyed the best chance she had at becoming someone better? Andrew looked at his mother. When did you become Team Catherine? I'm not Team anyone. I'm Team Truth. And the truth is complicated. Helen stood up. You need to talk to Ruby. She heard Catherine crying. She's scared. Andrew found his daughter in her room, sitting on her bed with her triceratops. Dad. Ruby's voice was small. Is Catherine leaving? He sat down beside her. Yeah, baby. She is. Why? Because I found out some things about her past that made me worried about keeping her here. What things? Grown-up things. Things I'm not sure are true but made me scared enough to ask her to go. Ruby was quiet for a moment. Then, was she mean again? No. She wasn't mean at all. Then why does she have to leave? Because sometimes being safe means keeping distance from people who might hurt you, even if they haven't yet. Ruby looked at her stuffed dinosaur. But what if they never do? Hurt you, I mean. What if you keep them away and they were always going to be nice? Then I guess I made a mistake. Are you making a mistake now? Andrew pulled his daughter close. I don't know, baby. I really don't know. That night, he couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Catherine's face when he told her to leave. Thinking about Ruby's question. Thinking about Helen's words. Around midnight, he got up and walked to the window. Looked out at the guest house. The lights were on. He could see Catherine's shadow moving back and forth. Packing. Leaving. Just like he'd told her to. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Text from Trevor. You fire her? Andrew didn't respond. Another text. You made the right call. Better safe than sorry. Was it? Was it really? Or had he just proven Catherine right? That the second things got hard, the second trust required actual risk. He'd chosen fear over faith? He stood at the window until the guest house lights went out. Stood there until the sky started turning gray with dawn. And still didn't know if he'd done the right thing. Wednesday morning came too fast and too quiet. Andrew woke to silence. No coffee brewing downstairs. No footsteps on the patio. No Catherine. She'd left sometime during the night. The guest house sat empty when he looked out the window, the door standing open like a mouth. He found the keys to the Honda on the kitchen counter. A handwritten note beside them. Thank you for the chance. I'm sorry I wasted it. The guest house is clean. I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. Tell Ruby I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye. Tell Helen thank you for teaching me what grace looks like. I hope someday you'll believe I was telling the truth. See. Andrew folded the note and put it in his pocket. Helen came downstairs at 7. Looked at the empty kitchen. She's gone. She's gone. How do you feel? Like I just made either the best decision of my life or the worst one. Helen poured herself coffee. Ruby's not going to take this well. She was right. Ruby came down 20 minutes later, already dressed for school. She looked at the kitchen, at the empty space where Catherine usually stood making breakfast. She left, Ruby said. Not a question. She did, Andrew confirmed. Ruby's face went carefully blank. The same expression she'd worn right after her mother died. Shutting down to avoid feeling too much. Can you take me to school? She asked. Of course. The drive to Vista Elementary was silent. Ruby stared out the window, her backpack clutched in her lap. When Andrew pulled up to the drop-off line, she didn't move. Baby, he said gently. You said she was trying. You said people could be better than their worst moment. I know. So why didn't you let her? Andrew didn't have an answer that would satisfy a 7-year-old. Didn't have one that satisfied himself. Sometimes keeping people safe means making hard choices, he tried. Ruby looked at him then. Her eyes were wet but no tears fell. Or sometimes it just means being scared. She got out of the car and walked into school without looking back. Andrew sat in the drop-off line, other cars honking behind him to move, feeling like his daughter had just seen through him in a way no adult ever had. He drove to the office but couldn't focus. Sat through a meeting about the Matsuda deal without hearing a word. Trevor caught him afterward in the hallway. You look terrible, Trevor said. Thanks. Did Catherine leave? Last night. Good. You'll feel better in a few days. Trust me. Andrew wanted to believe him. Wanted to feel the relief that should come with eliminating a threat. Instead he just felt hollow. He left work early. Drove home to the empty house. Helen was at her book club. Ruby wouldn't be home for hours. Andrew walked out to the guest house. Catherine had cleaned like she said. The bed was stripped, linens folded on the mattress. The bathroom was spotless. The small kitchen had been scrubbed until it shone. On the counter she'd left something. A book. The Body Keeps the Score, by Bessel van der Kolk. A trauma therapy book. Post-it notes stuck out from dozens of pages. Catherine's handwriting in the margins. Notes about triggers and healing and breaking cycles. Andrew sat on the bare mattress and opened the book. One note, dated 3 weeks ago. Chapter 8, Children Who Witness Violence. Ruby needs to know none of this was her fault. Need to tell her somehow. Another, dated last week. EMDR session tomorrow. Dr. Reyes says the mop bucket is my trigger object. Need to buy a different kind. Blue, not yellow. Can't risk the association. Page after page of notes. Evidence of someone genuinely trying to heal. To understand herself. To be better. Andrew's phone rang. Nicole's number. He answered. Hello. Mr. Winters. Nicole's voice was tight. Professional. I'm calling to let you know Catherine's in the emergency room at Cedars-Sinai. Andrew stood up fast. What happened? She called me this morning from a motel in Van Nuys. Said she'd taken some pills. I called 911 and met her at the hospital. They pumped her stomach. She's stable now, but they're keeping her for observation. The world tilted. Andrew sat back down. What kind of pills? He asked. Sleep medication. Over the counter, but she took the whole bottle. Nicole's voice cracked slightly. She didn't want to die. She called me before they could work. But she was in a bad place. Really bad. Can I see her? She said she doesn't want to see you. The words stung worse than they should have. Nicole, I need to tell you something, Andrew said. Trevor ran a background check. Found the restraining order, the arrest. I confronted Catherine about it and she said it was self-defense, but I didn't believe her. I asked her to leave. Silence on the other end. You didn't believe her, Nicole finally said. Her voice had gone cold. I didn't know what to believe. The police report was detailed. Specific. It said. I know what it said. I testified in her defense. I was there that night. Andrew went still. What? I was at Catherine's apartment when Marcus attacked her. I saw the whole thing. Nicole's words came faster now, urgent. He'd been escalating for weeks. Threatening her, following her home from work, showing up at her apartment drunk. That night he broke in. Smashed through the back door while we were having dinner. He grabbed Catherine by the throat and slammed her against the wall. Told her he'd kill her if she ever talked to another man. Andrew's hands tightened around the phone. She fought back, Nicole continued. Grabbed the lamp and hit him with it. Scratched his face trying to get him off her. I called 911, but when the police showed up, Marcus was calm. Told them Catherine had invited him over and attacked him out of nowhere. Catherine was hysterical, couldn't stop crying, could barely speak. They arrested her right there in front of me. Why wasn't this in the police report? It was. My statement is in there. But Catherine's lawyer was terrible, barely fought the restraining order, and the assault charge got dropped because Marcus didn't want to go to trial. Probably because he knew my testimony would destroy his story. But the arrest stayed on her record. Followed her everywhere. Andrew felt sick. You saw it happen. You were a witness. I was 17. The police treated me like a hysterical teenager backing up her sister's lies. They believed Marcus because he was older, calmer, more convincing. Because the system is built to believe men over women, especially when the woman is emotional. Why didn't Catherine tell me you were there? Because she spent 3 years being ashamed of that night. Being told she was crazy and violent and a liar. After a while you start to believe it yourself. Even when you know the truth. Andrew put his head in his free hand. I messed up. Yes, you did. Can I fix it? I don't know. That's up to Catherine. Nicole paused. But Mr. Winters? If you're going to try, you better be sure. Because my sister can't take being abandoned again. Can't take another person deciding she's not worth the risk. You either trust her or you don't. There's no middle ground anymore." They ended the call. Andrew sat in the empty guest house, surrounded by evidence of Catherine's work to heal, and felt the full weight of what he'd done. He'd chosen fear over faith. Chosen a piece of paper over the person standing in front of him. Just like Catherine had said. He called Trevor. "I need you to do something for me." "What?" "Find Marcus Webb. Catherine's ex. I need to talk to him." "Andrew, what are you?" "Just do it. Please." Trevor was quiet for a beat. "This is a bad idea." "Probably. Do it anyway." 2 hours later, Trevor called back with an address. Marcus Webb lived in Pasadena now, worked as a sales manager at a car dealership on Colorado Boulevard. Andrew drove there directly. Found Marcus in his office, a man in his late 30s with perfect hair and a salesman's smile. "Can I help you?" Marcus asked. "I'm Andrew Winters. I'm calling about Catherine Hayes." The smile disappeared. "I haven't seen Catherine in 3 years." "I know. But I need to ask you about the restraining order. The night you filed it." Marcus's expression went carefully neutral. "That's in the past. I'd rather not. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need the truth. What really happened that night?" Marcus studied him for a long moment. "Are you involved with Catherine?" "I was." "It's complicated. Then let me give you some advice. Walk away. Catherine's unstable. Violent. I tried to help her but she turned on me. Attacked me in my own home." "Her home," Andrew corrected. "You broke into her apartment." Marcus's face flickered. "Who told you that?" "Her sister. She was there. Saw the whole thing. Nicole's a liar. She'd say anything to protect Catherine. Would she perjure herself in a police statement? Because that's what she'd have to do if she lied in her testimony." Marcus stood up. "I think you should leave. Why did you really file that restraining order?" Andrew stayed seated. "What were you afraid Catherine would tell people?" "I wasn't afraid of anything." "Then why drop the assault charges? If she really attacked you unprovoked, why not prosecute?" "Because I didn't want to ruin her life over one mistake." Andrew laughed. A short, bitter sound. "That's generous. Or maybe it's because you knew Nicole's testimony would prove you were lying. That you broke in. That you attacked Catherine first. That she was defending herself." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Get out of my office." "Did you hit her?" Andrew asked quietly. "Before she fought back? Did you put your hands on her throat?" "Get out." "Because if you did, if you hurt her and then filed a false report to cover it up, that's a crime. And I have connections. Resources. Ways to make sure the truth comes out even 3 years later." Marcus came around the desk fast. Got in Andrew's face. "You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know her like I do. She's damaged. Broken. One day she'll turn on you too and you'll understand why I had to protect myself." Andrew stood up slowly. Looked Marcus in the eye. Saw exactly what Catherine had been running from. "You're right about one thing," Andrew said. "She is damaged. But not because of who she is. Because of what people like you did to her." He left before Marcus could respond. Drove straight to Cedars-Sinai. Nicole was in the waiting room on the 4th floor. She looked up when he approached. "Is she awake?" Andrew asked. "She is. But she still doesn't want to see you." "I need 5 minutes. Please." Nicole studied his face. Whatever she saw there made her nod. "Room 412. But if you upset her, I'm calling security." "Fair enough." Andrew walked down the hall. Knocked on the door marked 412. Catherine's voice small and tired. "Come in." He opened the door. She was in the bed, and 4 in her arm, her face pale. When she saw him, she turned away. "I said I didn't want visitors." "I know. But I needed to see you. Andrew stayed by the door. I talked to Nicole. And I talked to Marcus. Catherine's head snapped around. You did what? I needed to know the truth. So I found it. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Catherine. You were telling the truth and I chose to believe a piece of paper over you. I chose fear over trust and I hurt you. Again. Catherine's eyes filled. Why should I believe you're sorry now? You've kicked me out twice. Decided I wasn't worth the risk twice. What's different this time? This time I know the whole story. This time I understand what you've been fighting against. And this time I'm not asking you to prove yourself. I'm asking you to let me prove myself to you. What does that mean? Andrew moved closer to the bed. Not too close. Respectful of her space. It means I was wrong. About everything. You weren't the risk. My fear was. And I let it destroy something that was healing all of us. Catherine wiped her eyes. You can't just fix this with an apology. I know. But I'm hoping you'll let me try. Andrew pulled the note she'd left from his pocket. You said you hoped someday I'd believe you were telling the truth. I'm here to tell you I do. I believe you. And I'm asking you to come back. To work for you. No. Not as an employee. As someone who belongs there. As part of our family. Catherine shook her head. I can't go through this again. Can't risk you changing your mind the next time something scares you. You're right to be afraid of that. I've given you every reason not to trust me. But Catherine, these past 6 weeks were the best our house has felt in years. Ruby was happier. My mother was healing. And I started remembering what it felt like to have a real family instead of just people living under the same roof. That doesn't mean. I'm not asking you to jump back into anything. I'm asking you to come home and let us start over. Slowly. Carefully. With real trust this time instead of probation. Catherine looked at him for a long moment. What about Ruby? She must hate me for leaving without saying goodbye. She doesn't hate you. She's hurt. But she asked me this morning why I didn't let you keep trying to be better. She understands second chances better than I do apparently. A small, sad smile crossed Catherine's face. She's a smart kid. She is. And she misses you. We all do. Catherine was quiet. Andrew waited, letting her think. Finally. I need to stay here until they discharge me. Probably tomorrow. I'll be here to pick you up. And then we start over. Really start over. Really. No more background checks. No more waiting for me to mess up. No more fear. Just trust. Real trust. Catherine closed her eyes. A tear slipped down her cheek. Okay. 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 I'll come home. Andrew felt something in his chest release. Something that had been tight for months. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I might still mess this up. We might both mess it up. But at least we'll do it together. Catherine smiled. A real smile this time. The first one he'd seen in days. Andrew stayed until Nicole came to check on her. Promised to be back tomorrow morning for discharge. Drove home as the sun set over Los Angeles, turning the sky orange and pink and gold. Helen was making dinner when he got back. She looked up when he entered. Where have you been? Hospital. Catherine took pills last night. Helen's wooden spoon clattered to the floor. What? He told her everything. Nicole's call, his conversation with Marcus, the visit to the hospital. When he finished, Helen was quiet for a long time. So she's coming back? She finally asked. If you're okay with it. What changed? Why do you trust her now? Andrew thought about it. Because I stopped trusting my fear more than my eyes. These past 6 weeks, I saw who she really is. I just let one piece of paper make me forget that. I won't make that mistake again. Helen smiled. Good. Because Ruby's been in her room since she got home, refusing to eat. Go tell her. Andrew found his daughter exactly where Helen said. lying on her bed staring at the ceiling. "Hey, little dinosaur," he said from the doorway. Ruby didn't respond. He sat on the edge of her bed. "I have news. Catherine's coming back." Ruby sat up fast. "Really? Really? I made a mistake. A big one. And I fixed it. Is she okay?" "She will be. She's in the hospital right now, but she's getting better. And tomorrow she's coming home." Ruby threw herself at him, her small arms tight around his neck. "I knew you'd fix it. I knew you would." Andrew held his daughter close, hoping she was right, hoping he hadn't fixed it too late. Thursday morning, Andrew arrived at Cedars-Sinai at 9, brought coffee and a bag of Catherine's favorite muffins from the bakery on Beverly Boulevard. Blueberry lemon. Nicole was already there, helping Catherine sign discharge papers. Catherine looked better. Still pale, still tired, but more solid somehow. Like she'd made a decision about something important. She saw Andrew and her face softened. "You brought breakfast." "I brought breakfast." They sat in the hospital room while Catherine ate, the three of them making small talk about nothing important. The weather. The traffic. How terrible hospital food was. Dancing around the bigger conversation waiting underneath. Finally, Nicole stood. "I need to get to work. My shift starts at 11. She kissed Catherine's forehead. "Call me tonight." "I will." Nicole looked at Andrew on her way out. "Take care of her." "I will," he promised. Then it was just the two of them. Catherine set down her coffee. "I have conditions. If I'm coming back." "Okay. I want to keep seeing Dr. Reyes. Twice a week. No matter how expensive it gets or how long it takes." "Absolutely. And I want to go back to work. Real work. Not just household help. I need something that's mine." "What kind of work?" "I don't know yet. Maybe finish my marketing degree. Maybe something completely different. But I need to figure out who I am outside of being useful to other people." Andrew nodded. "That makes sense. And we go slow. Whatever this is between us, we don't rush it. We don't pretend the past didn't happen. We deal with it honestly." "I can do that." Catherine took a breath. "And if I mess up again, if I lose my temper or cross a line, you tell me immediately. You don't wait and let it build. You don't protect me from consequences. You just tell me the truth. I promise." She met his eyes. "Why are you really doing this, Andrew? Is it guilt? Pity?" "It's neither." He moved his chair closer. 6 weeks ago I brought you back because I thought I owed you a chance at redemption. But somewhere along the way it stopped being about what I owed you and started being about what I wanted. I wanted to hear your laugh in the morning. I wanted to watch you braid Ruby's hair. I wanted to see my mother trust someone again. I wanted all of it, and I didn't realize how much until it was gone. That's not love. That's just missing the help. You're right. It's not love. Not yet. But it could be. If we give it time. If we do it right this time. Catherine was quiet for a moment. "I spent 3 years being told I was too broken to love. That my damage made me unlovable. Part of me still believes that. Then let me prove that part wrong." She smiled. Small but real. "Okay." They drove back to the house together. Catherine was quiet during the ride, looking out the window at the city passing by. When they pulled into the driveway, she didn't move. "What if Ruby changed her mind?" she asked. "What if she doesn't want me here anymore?" Only one way to find out. They walked to the front door together. Andrew opened it. Ruby was waiting in the living room. She must have been watching from the window. When she saw Catherine, she ran. Catherine dropped to her knees just in time to catch her. "You came back," Ruby sobbed into her shoulder. "You came back." "I came back." Catherine's voice broke. "I'm so sorry I left without saying goodbye. I'm so sorry I scared you." "It's okay. You're here now." Helen appeared from the kitchen. She looked at Catherine, still on her knees holding Ruby, and something in her expression softened. "Welcome home," Helen said simply. Catherine looked up, her face wet. "Thank you." The next few weeks passed in careful steps forward. Catherine moved back into the guest house but spent most of her time in the main house. She helped with Ruby's morning routine, drove her to school, picked her up in the afternoons. But she also started taking online classes. Marketing strategy, consumer psychology, building towards something that was hers. Ruby's fear faded completely. She'd climb into Catherine's lap while doing homework, drag her outside to play, insist Catherine read bedtime stories in different funny voices. The trust rebuilt itself in small moments. Steady and real. Helen's physical therapy graduated to full walks around the neighborhood. Catherine would go with her, the two of them talking about books and recipes and Helen's memories of Andrew as a child. One afternoon, Andrew found them in the kitchen making his late wife Diane's favorite cookies. Helen teaching Catherine the recipe she'd never shared with anyone. "Diane would have liked you," Helen told Catherine. "Once I got out of the way and let her." Catherine's hands stilled over the mixing bowl. "That means more than you know." December arrived. The city decorated for holidays. Lights on Rodeo Drive. A massive tree in the grove. Ruby's school announced their winter performance would be the first week of January. "I'm a dinosaur," Ruby announced at dinner one night. "A nice dinosaur who learns to share. I have 3 whole lines." "That's the best part in the show," Catherine said seriously. "Obviously." Ruby grinned. "Will you help me practice?" "Every night if you want." Andrew watched them together, Catherine running lines with Ruby while Helen cleared the table, and felt something settle in his chest. This was what home felt like. One Saturday in mid-December, Andrew asked Catherine to go for a walk. Just the two of them. They left Ruby with Helen and drove to Griffith Park, hiked up to the observatory. The city spread out below them, vast and glittering in the afternoon light. "I love this view," Catherine said. "Makes everything feel smaller, more manageable. That's why I come here when I need to think." "What are you thinking about today?" Andrew took her hand. She didn't pull away. "I'm thinking about how 6 months ago I was engaged to someone I didn't really know, planning a wedding that would have made us both miserable. And now I'm standing here with you, and it feels more real than anything I had with that version of us." Catherine looked at their joined hands. "We're different people now. Both of us. Better people." "I hope so." She met his eyes. "Are we doing this? Actually doing this? What's this? You know what I mean. Are we together? Are we trying for something real?" Andrew thought about how to answer. Decided on honesty. "I'm in love with you. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you braided Ruby's hair the first time and she actually sat still for you. Maybe when you taught my mother to make bread and she laughed harder than I'd heard in years. Maybe it was always there, buried under all my fear and your walls. But I'm in love with you, Catherine. And I want to try for something real. If you'll let me." Catherine's eyes filled. "I'm terrified." "Me too. What if we mess this up? What if I hurt you or you hurt me and we can't come back from it? Then we mess it up. But at least we tried. At least we were brave enough to choose love instead of fear." She laughed through her tears. "When did you become such a romantic?" "When I fell for a woman who survived everything the world threw at her and still found a way to be kind. Still found a way to show up and do the hard work of healing." Catherine pulled him closer, kissed him. Soft and careful and full of promise. When they broke apart, she said, "I'm in love with you too. It's terrifying and probably a terrible idea, but I'm in love with you." Definitely a terrible idea. The worst. They stood there holding each other as the sun set over Los Angeles, turning the smog and haze into something beautiful. Christmas came. They kept it simple. A small tree in the living room. Presents for Ruby. A quiet dinner at home. Nicole joined them, the first time she'd seen Catherine truly happy in years. "You're glowing," Nicole told her sister while they did dishes. "I'm just happy. It's more than that. You're healing. Really healing this time." Catherine looked through the doorway at Andrew and Ruby building a tower of blocks, Helen cheering them on from the couch. I found a family that doesn't expect me to be perfect. Just real. That's new. Good. You deserve it. New Year's Eve, they stayed home. Put Ruby to bed early. Sat on the back patio with Helen, watching fireworks bloom across the city. I want to propose a toast, Helen said, raising her glass of sparkling cider. To what? Andrew asked. To second chances. To families built from broken pieces. To the courage it takes to trust again. She looked at Catherine. And to you for teaching this old woman that it's never too late to get it right. They clinked glasses under the stars. January brought Ruby's winter performance. She was magnificent as the sharing dinosaur, her 3 lines delivered with perfect dramatic timing. Catherine and Andrew sat in the audience holding hands, Helen beside them beaming with pride. After the show, Ruby ran to them still in her dinosaur costume. Did you see me? Did you see? You were perfect, Catherine said, scooping her up. A star. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Obviously. They went to Salt and Straw, the 4 of them crowded into a booth, Ruby still in her costume because she refused to take it off. She fell asleep on the drive home, Catherine carrying her inside and up to bed. Andrew watched from the doorway as Catherine tucked Ruby in, kissed her forehead, whispered something he couldn't hear. When Catherine came out, he pulled her close. What did you say to her? I told her she was loved. That she was safe. That she never had to be afraid in her own home again. That's all true. I know. I just wanted her to hear it. They stood in the hallway outside Ruby's room, holding each other in the dark. Move into the main house, Andrew said suddenly. Catherine pulled back to look at him. What? Move out of the guest house. Move in here. With us. For real. Andrew. I know it's fast. I know we're supposed to be taking things slow, but having you across the yard doesn't make sense anymore. You're already here every day. You're already part of everything. Make it official. Catherine bit her lip. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. What about Ruby? What if she's not ready? Let's ask her. The next morning at breakfast, Andrew brought it up. Ruby, how would you feel if Catherine moved out of the guest house and lived here in the main house with us? Ruby looked up from her cereal. Like in a bedroom? Yeah. She'd have her own room. Just like you and Grandma. Ruby thought about this very seriously. Then, would she still make the pancakes with chocolate chips? Catherine laughed. Every Sunday. And would she still do my hair? Every day you want. Then okay. She can live here. Just like that. Simple 7-year-old logic. If the important things stayed the same, the details didn't matter. Catherine moved her things into the spare bedroom upstairs. Not the master bedroom Andrew used. Her own space. They were building something real, but they were also being smart about it. February brought Catherine's birthday. Andrew planned a surprise dinner at the Italian place in Beverly Hills she'd mentioned a year ago. The one they'd never made it to. He arranged everything. Reservation at 8. Helen would watch Ruby. Nicole would meet them there. Catherine came down the stairs at 7:30 in a red dress Andrew had never seen before. Her hair down, simple makeup, a nervous smile. You look beautiful, he said. You clean up pretty well yourself. They drove to Beverly Hills, Catherine chattering about her marketing class, how she'd gotten an A on her latest project. Andrew let her talk, enjoying the sound of her voice, the way she used her hands when she got excited about something. The restaurant was perfect. Candlelit tables, soft music, the smell of garlic and wine. Nicole was already there, sitting at a table with a view of the city. But she wasn't alone. Andrew stopped. Catherine's hand tightened on his arm. Helen sat beside Nicole. And Ruby, in a purple dress with her hair in the French braid Catherine had taught her, bouncing in her seat with barely contained excitement. Surprise! Ruby shouted, too loud for the elegant space. Catherine's hand flew to her mouth. What is this? Birthday dinner, Andrew said. All of us. The whole family. Catherine's eyes filled immediately. She looked at Helen. You're here. Of course I'm here. It's your birthday. But Ruby's supposed to be home. Ruby insisted, Helen said. Said it wouldn't be a real celebration without her. Ruby ran over and grabbed Catherine's hand. I got you a present. It's at the table. Come see. They sat down together, all 5 of them crowded around a table meant for 4. The waiter brought another chair without being asked. Ruby presented her gift with great ceremony. A drawing. The 5 of them as stick figures outside a house. Everyone smiling. Hearts floating above their heads. It's us, Ruby explained unnecessarily. As a family. Catherine couldn't speak. Just held the drawing and cried. Nicole reached across and squeezed her sister's hand. Happy birthday, Cat. Dinner was loud and perfect. Ruby told stories about school. Helen argued with Nicole about the best kind of pasta. Andrew and Catherine sat close, their hands finding each other under the table. When dessert came, a small cake with candles, they all sang. Off-key and joyful. Make a wish, Ruby insisted. Catherine closed her eyes. Blew out the candles. What did you wish for? Ruby asked. If I tell you, it won't come true. That's just a saying. Tell me anyway. Catherine looked around the table. At Nicole. At Helen. At Ruby. At Andrew. I wished that this moment right here could last forever. All of us together. Happy. That's a good wish, Ruby said seriously. I hope it comes true. Me too, baby. Me too. March brought warmer weather. Cherry blossoms in the parks. Catherine graduated from her online marketing certificate program. Applied for jobs at firms across the city. Got 3 interviews in 1 week. I'm nervous, she told Andrew the night before her first interview. You'll be great. What if they ask about the gap in my employment? What do I say? You tell them the truth. That you took time to handle personal matters and you're ready to get back to work. What if they run a background check? Find the arrest. Andrew pulled her close. Then they find it. And if they're smart, they'll see past a 3-year-old mistake to the talented, hard-working person sitting in front of them. And if they're not smart, you don't want to work there anyway. She got the job. Marketing coordinator at a firm in Santa Monica. Started the first week of April. Came home from her first day exhausted and energized. How was it? Ruby asked at dinner. Amazing. Terrifying. Perfect. Did you use your marketing brain? Catherine laughed. I used my marketing brain so much. Life found a rhythm. Andrew worked. Catherine worked. Helen continued her physical therapy, stronger every week. Ruby finished 2nd grade with straight A's and a certificate for Most Creative Dinosaur Enthusiast. Summer arrived. They took a vacation to San Diego. The zoo. The beaches. Ruby ran into the Pacific Ocean fully clothed and came back soaked and laughing. Catherine chased her, both of them shrieking when the cold water hit. Andrew watched from the sand. Helen beside him. She's good for us, Helen said. Good for all of us. She is. Are you going to marry her? Andrew looked at his mother. Eventually. When the time is right. What are you waiting for? For both of us to be ready. For Ruby to feel secure. For all the pieces to be in place. Helen smiled. The pieces are already in place. You're just scared. She was right. He was scared. Scared of rushing. Scared of repeating old mistakes. Scared of loving someone this much and losing them. But Catherine was teaching him something about fear. That you could be terrified and still move forward. That courage wasn't the absence of fear but the choice to trust anyway. August came. Ruby's 8th birthday. They threw a party in the backyard. Dinosaur-themed. Obviously. Ruby's friends from school running wild. Catherine organizing games and cake with the efficiency of a general. After the guests left and Ruby crashed on the couch in a sugar coma, Andrew found Catherine cleaning up wrapping paper in the yard. Leave it, he said. We'll deal with it tomorrow. I don't mind. He took the trash bag from her hands. Set it down. Dance with me. There's no music. So. He pulled her close, swayed slowly under the string lights they'd hung for the party. Catherine rested her head on his shoulder. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For giving me a second chance. For seeing past my worst moment. For letting me be part of this family. You're not part of this family. You are this family. She looked up at him. I love you. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know I mean it. Not just because you saved me or gave me a place to live. I love you because you showed me what real partnership looks like. What trust looks like. What home feels like. Andrew kissed her. Slow and deep. When they broke apart, he said, Will you marry me? Catherine froze. What? Will you marry me? For real this time. Not because it makes sense on paper or because we're trying to build something practical. But because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Because you make Ruby laugh and my mother smile and me believe in second chances. Because I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life proving it. We don't have a ring. I'll get you a ring. 100 rings. Whatever you want. Catherine laughed through sudden tears. Ask me again. Properly. Andrew dropped to one knee right there in the grass, surrounded by birthday decorations and the mess of a day well lived. Catherine Hayes, will you marry me? Yes. She pulled him up, kissed him hard. Yes, yes, yes. They told Ruby the next morning. She screamed so loud the neighbors probably heard. Insisted on calling Nicole immediately. Demanded to be the flower girl and also the ring bearer and also maybe give a speech at the wedding. You can be whatever you want, Catherine promised. They told Helen over coffee. She cried for the first time in months. Happy tears. Healing tears. Your wife would approve, Helen told Andrew. Diane always wanted you to find love again. Real love. I found it. I know you did. They planned a small wedding. Nothing fancy. Just family and close friends. The ceremony in the backyard where Andrew had proposed. October, exactly 1 year after Catherine had moved into the guest house. The day arrived perfect. Clear skies, warm sun. The smell of roses from Helen's garden. Ruby wore a yellow dress and carried the rings with great seriousness. Nicole stood as Catherine's maid of honor. Trevor, who'd apologized months ago for the background check incident, stood as Andrew's best man. Catherine walked down the makeshift aisle alone. No one to give her away because she was giving herself. Choosing this. Choosing him. Choosing the family they'd built from broken pieces. The ceremony was short. Simple vows written by the couple themselves. Andrew went first. Catherine, a year ago I watched you at your worst. And instead of running, you stayed and showed me what courage looks like. You taught Ruby what healing looks like. You taught my mother what forgiveness looks like. And you taught me what real love looks like. Not the easy kind. The kind that requires trust and work and showing up even when you're scared. I promise to show up for you every day. To choose trust over fear. To love you through the hard days and celebrate you through the good ones. To be the partner you deserve. Catherine's turn. Her voice shook but held. Andrew, you saw me at my absolute worst and you gave me a chance anyway. Not because I deserved it but because you believed people could change. You were right. I am changed. But not because I tried to become someone else. Because you loved me into becoming the best version of myself. You and Ruby and Helen gave me a family when I thought I'd never have one. Gave me a home when I thought I'd always be alone. I promise to honor that gift every day. To be the partner, the mother, the daughter that you all deserve. To choose love over fear. To show up even when it's hard. To never stop trying to be better. They exchanged rings. Simple gold bands. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me by the state of California, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss. Andrew pulled Catherine close and kissed her as the small crowd cheered. Ruby threw flower petals. Helen wiped her eyes. Nicole whistled. The reception was in the backyard, dancing under string lights. Cake from the bakery on Beverly Boulevard. Toasts that made everyone cry and laugh. Ruby gave her speech. Catherine used to be mean, but now she's nice. She makes good pancakes and tells funny stories, and she loves my dad a lot. I'm glad she's my new mom. The end. The crowd applauded. Catherine pulled Ruby into a hug, both of them crying. As the sun set and the party wound down, Andrew and Catherine stood at the edge of the yard, watching their family and friends. We did it, Catherine said. We actually did it. We did. I never thought I'd get here. Never thought I deserved this. Andrew turned her to face him. You deserve every bit of this. Every moment of happiness. Every second of peace. You fought for it. Earned it. Never doubt that. She kissed him. Soft and sweet. I love you. I love you too. Ruby ran over, pulling them both toward the dance floor. Come on. It's the family dance. All of us. So they danced. Andrew and Catherine and Ruby and Helen and Nicole. The family they'd chosen. The family they'd built. The family that almost wasn't but somehow, miraculously, was. And in that moment, with lights glowing overhead and music playing and the people he loved most in the world surrounding him, Andrew Winters understood what he'd been missing all those years of running from grief and hiding in work. This. Connection. Trust. Love that didn't demand perfection but celebrated progress. A family built not on avoiding mistakes but on learning from them. A home built not on fear but on the courage to try again. Catherine rested her head on his shoulder as they swayed to the music. Ruby danced circles around them. Helen and Nicole laughed at something only they could hear. Perfect wasn't real. But this was. And this was more than enough. This was everything.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.